Tonight is a special guest. We got Mr. Tanner Dean coming from Michigan. He's a big time turkey hunter. Our paths crossed in a very unique way, very unique way.
Very unique.
Um, so I'm excited to have you on, man. Thanks for coming on here tonight.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it ever since you got a hold of me last night.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, man. Yeah, I'm. It's funny. I'll kind of go through our backstory a little bit. It's not very long, but um, we I see it's weird how the algorithm is like on social media and I guess search engines in general, but I see your name pop up more than like people I got in my family. It's the strangest thing. Like you pop up more, and I don't know if it recognizes that me and you are like we like so much of the same things. I guess that's why it does it.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I don't know, probably this was back around Christmas time, right?
yeah. It was. I think it was like December 20th area.
Yeah, somewhere right around there. That's right. And man, I kept seeing your stuff pop up, and I was like, man, I'm gonna reach out to this guy. I was like, he's gotta be just like me, you know. So I actually reached out to you, and I sent him I sent him a message on Face Sheet, and he ended up giving me his number, and that's how it all came about.
Yep.
And man, I love your stuff, you know. I guarantee you you gotta love turkey hunting that much
Like,
to be in that circle, you know.
yeah, yeah.
But
No, no. Yeah. When you messaged me, I got on your profile, and immediately I was like, oh, we like the same kind of things, and I can
yeah,
definitely see there being a friendship here. So that was awesome. I've
yeah,
It's way the way God brings people together is crazy, especially using Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that. It is nuts to me.
yeah. Well, I mean, you know, I just had this conversation just yesterday, and I I think people I'm not excluding myself here. I think people forget about how big our God is. I think they
Yes.
forget that he is he has unlimited power, right? So he's going to make things go around um, and happen the way that no one else can see happening. And for me
Yes.
personally, and we're diving in deep quick, but for me personally, I quit believing in coincidences a long time ago because of that reason. I seen so many things happen that should not have happened. And
Yep.
I thought to myself, seeing those things, I was like, man, you know, I was like, there has to be a God, you know. And then
Yep.
I read somewhere, I think it was the Duck Dynasty devotional book. They made a
Okay.
daily devotional book, and one of the uh one of the devotions in there, it was Cy Robertson of all of them, but he said God's the smoothest dude in the room. He
Yeah.
said he makes things work and happen in a way that no one else can, and I tell you, man, that's the truth.
Oh, 100%. Yep. Nope. And I see it every day. That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
The the love he has for people like us.
Oh, 100%, man.
Crazy. It's unconditional.
To Yeah, to be a perfect being, um, to go through what Jesus went through and then say, I'm willing to do that for those people.
Yep.
That's tough. That
That
one's
is,
tough, buddy.
oh my
But
gosh.
hey, yeah, and man, I've talked to so many people that are either young in faith, not young
Yep.
in body, but young in faith, or they want to believe, they just don't know how to believe because they just had bad experiences, you know, within the church or whatever. But you know, and I explained to him, I'm like, man, you got to understand who we're talking about here. This is the one and only, man. I was like, and that relationship that you have with him, it's not going to it these other influences in your life. I was like, none of that stuff matters. You know, I was
Yeah.
like, you
Yep.
can't be if you were perfect, then you wouldn't need him, right?
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. Yep. We're imperfect people loved by a perfect God. And
That's the best
Absolutely
way.
just
Best way to it's the best way to explain it,
yeah,
man.
yep. Yep, it's magical. I tell you that every single day I see it, and man, I'm just so thankful for the life that he's given me and blessed me with. So I love it.
So yeah, we're there. So I would just go ahead and talk about it,
Yeah.
man. I think that um, I was talking to a buddy of mine the other night who had a monumental impact in my faith. But we got to talking, um, and we were talking about the rapture, end of days, end of the world, the uplifting stuff,
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, man, I said, there's a spiritual awakening going on in our world right now, not just our country. There's a spiritual awakening. I've seen people get saved that I think for me, Kat Von D, when she got saved and baptized, I think that was kind of the cherry on top. I think I had seen a bunch of people in that kind of limelight, and I looked at it and I was like, there's something going on here,
Yep.
And then when I seen that, I was like, oh, and I was like, buddy, it's happening.
It's
I
happening.
believe it happened. I believe it started happening in 2020.
Yep.
Um, I don't know if COVID sped it up or if it's just on track. I don't know, but dude, there has been a ton of people that I've seen that has changed their entire lives, their mentalities, getting
Yes.
saved, getting baptized, and I'm just like, dude, there is something going on here. Are you seeing that from your end?
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, nowadays, though, the world we're living in now, I mean, it is full of evil and like I mean, you see it in higher ups, and I'm not a big political guy, but
Me
you
neither.
can see it at the very top, and you can see how Satan is moving in this world right now. But you can see that, like you said, the awakening that people are starting to see, and our church in the last few years has grown. I mean, out of this roof, we have a giant congregation, and the people we've now got, I think, three churches now from the main one that I go to, and this has all been in the last 3 4 years that they started branching out, and there's, I mean, the baptism numbers every year are just getting just higher and higher and higher and higher. The amount of people coming getting saved is crazy. I mean, like you said, I believe God is moving big time right now because of all the evil that's happening in this world.
I think so too. Yeah, I think I I kind of the last 3 years, 3.5 years, I think I personally have went in a full circle of faith. Last 10 years for sure. And I got to see life from all different angles.
Yeah.
The being lost, the being saved, the questioning of things, the walking away, the doubting, the mad, I mean everything, the full gamut. And when I started talking to people, and you when you're in that situation, you start to think you're the only one in it, but you start talking to folks, and they're like, "Man, I'm the same way," and they're like, "I'm the same way, I'm the same way, I'm the same way," and I was like, "Man," I was like, "Oh, I'm glad I'm not alone," but I was like, I didn't
Yeah.
realize there was that many people, but it drives the point home that you're just imperfect.
Yes.
Not you, but everybody's just
No. Yeah.
imperfect.
100%. Everybody. Yep.
And I think the biggest misconception, the greatest thing the devil has ever done is convince people that they have to be perfect.
Yep.
It's the greatest thing they've ever done. He's ever
Yep.
done. You're not going to be perfect. And if you think that, for anyone that's watching this or listening to it, if you think that you have to be, if you think that you have to be clean before you go and get washed, you're crazy. It don't
Yeah.
work that
Yep.
way, man.
No.
You know,
No.
I mean,
No.
it just, and you're gonna struggle. You're gonna have mistakes, and you're gonna fail a lot. You're gonna fail every day.
Yes.
Um,
Yep. Absolutely.
but the one thing that he does tell us is that you know, you got to carry that cross, and it's not gonna be easy. So,
No. No. No.
man,
Nope. Yep. You're gonna go through a lot of trials and tribulations through everything in life, and on daily life. Every day you're gonna go through a little bit of something, but you just got to realize that you're not alone. And That's one thing that I've dealt with the last couple of months. And I think I messaged you and we got talking about it a little bit, um, about stuff that's happened. And it's just once you realize you're not alone, that he's at some of the times that you feel you're at the most where you feel like he's left you. That's sometimes when he's as close as he's ever been, and you just gotta lay. I heard Pastor Morris. I was watching his sermon the other day, and he said a believer was never meant to carry a burden. A sheep was never meant to carry a burden. You're supposed to carry the burden from right here to his feet. That's as far as you should have to carry that burden. So once you realize that, you can just lay it at his feet, step back, and say, Lord, this is I'm giving my burdens to you. I'm casting my burdens onto you, and then the anxiety, the worries, the whole thing should, you know, you
It it's like water off a duck's back, dude. I mean, and
yeah,
it's very easy in our time uh, with the pace that we go at these days, with
yes,
work, with emails, with texting, this and that. It's just nonstop. It's just not sustainable. And
no,
I think that's why we have such an elevated amount of stress in our lives that's unneeded, it's unnecessary. Stress is good to an extent, you're fighting lions in a cave. It's good.
yeah,
You need to have flight or fight, right?
yep,
But if you are, dealing with emails, 24/7, that stuff's just
yep,
not good for you. But I tell you, man, when I get down and I just I'm defeated. I mean, there's just no other way to put it.
yep.
And you let him deal with it, and it's like it just magically disappears, man.
Yes, and some of the craziest scenarios you can feel like calming. That's just like you never thought you'd be able to. And we went through that about a year, no, 2 years ago, with my mom. She got COVID. She went in the hospital, ended up in ICU, and they called us one night and told us that she's getting ready to get put on the ventilator. And I was at work. I got called in for overtime, and I remember I was at work, told my boss, "Hey, my mom just is getting ready to get put on the ventilator," and he said, "All right, well, you should go home, go be with your family."
Right.
And I remember driving home, and I parked out in front of the house, and I was bawling my eyes out, and I just said, "Lord," I said, we need peace in this situation right now," and it was crazy. I was bawling, crying, and all of a sudden I felt like this, like almost like this calming just come right over the right. I mean, it was almost like nothing was wrong. And it like kind of took me by surprise. So I went in the house and come to find out, the doctor misspoke. And my mom had told him she was not going to go on a ventilator regardless. But the doctor had misspoke and they were talking like that, almost like she needed to. But by the next morning, all of her oxygen levels were already climbing at like a pretty rapid rate. And it was like in that moment where everything felt like it was just headed downhill. And like a flip of a switch, the calming came over us, and all of a sudden she just started doing better. It was like a 180 in overnight. And I was like, if that ain't God moving, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk
Yeah.
about sitting out. I mean, I mean, I feel like I'm a grown man. I'm 27 years old, but I bawled my eyes out, and it was like I was like pleading, like Lord, please. And I remember I just asking for peace, and then it was like a like a deep breath came over me, and it was just boom, just like that. And I stopped crying. It was like everything was like, wait a minute, everything's gonna be all right. And the next day, and now she's out of the hospital. She's doing good, and I just yeah, it's hard for me not to believe in God. I've seen Him work way too many times.
Miracles, man. Miracles.
Miracles.
And I I used to you read the Bible and you read about history changing moments, right? The Red Sea departing. You read about the Israelites being in the desert for 40 years. You read about Nebuchadnezzar. You read about all of these historic things that have been proven. They have
Yep.
proven with historical records and archaeological data. And you look at those things and you think, well, none of that stuff happens now. Oh, it happens now.
It happens
And
now.
it happens now, buddy. And and when you start when you start looking for him, that's when you're gonna find him. Because
Yep.
he's there the whole time. He's there the
Yes.
whole time. You just don't we just choose not to see him. Even though we don't think we're not choosing him, we just choose not to see him.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I I will say I do think it is harder now for a this is very this I guess this is egotistical for me to think. I think it is really hard right now to be a good person. I think it is very hard to do. You say, well, I mean, look at the disciples. They died horrible deaths. And you're like, yes, 100%.
Yep.
But in the history of America, I think this is a very hard time to be a strong, godly man. I
Yes.
think it's
Yep.
very tough. But, you know, um, I work with a lot of people, man, that over the last, let's just say 2020 kind of stirred the pot.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Um, But it's like they're on this like negative downhill spin the entire time.
Yep.
And I've told people my age with kids, and I'm like, man, God chose us. This is it. He chose us for this time. He
Yep.
wouldn't he'll never put more on us than we can ever ask for. So if we're sitting here trying to raise kids, trying to do the right thing, he sees us fit to perform the task. I said, so
Yep.
that's on us.
Yep.
I said, and when you change that mindset and you go, oh, thank you. One of the things I went through, I did a podcast about this a few episodes ago, but it was basically my from the end of 2022 through the whole 2023 year, and I went through this epic mind change. Um, just went through a lot of just struggles that finally I, I dealt with them. I dealt with them the right way, and I started looking at things from a different perspective, and that's why I say I did the full gamut of faith. I went through
Yep.
the whole full circle, man. And that's why when I say things, I probably offend people. I say things harshly,
Yeah.
but it's because I'm speaking. If we're gonna bet our life on something, we better be sure of it, right?
Yes. Yep. Yep.
And so when I say things, I'm not saying this to people that to offend them or make them feel a certain way that makes them, downplay God or doubt his power, but it's to understand how powerful he is. Like we can't walk around and just be halfway about this thing. We got to be all in.
Yep.
That's including
Absolutely.
me. That's
Yep.
including me,
Yep.
because people look at and I went through I'm talking a lot. I brought you on for you to talk.
Hey,
Um,
I love it.
but man, I went through I struggled a long time, man. I didn't get saved till I was 23. I didn't get baptized. I was like 25 or something like that. But I went through forever. Thank God. Thank God I didn't die.
Yep.
But I went for forever thinking you had to be like this weird, like perfect person. You got to say the right things. And
Been there.
like we would go to church and like I didn't like anyone there. And it never felt right. And like I would sit there and I would talk to people and I was like, what is the purpose of this?
Yeah.
Like I know you. You're fake. I know
Yeah.
you personally, and you're a deacon. What do we, and so for me as a young man growing up and seeing that, I was like, oh, it's all fake. I was like, I'm not going with that.
Yeah.
And then I had some rough times there where death was definitely in the equation. It just
Hmm.
didn't solve it. And
Yep.
I had I had a really, really bad car accident and I felt something like there was a presence there that you can't really explain, you know what I mean? It was like it was power, just just overwhelming. And I thought, no, there's something to this life. And I said, and it's up to me to figure that out. And I started taking that self accountability, that self understanding. Hey, I've got to figure this out because if I don't, death is a reality. Because as a
Yes.
young man, you don't think that, right? I
No,
mean, you're full of
no.
testosterone, you run through a brick wall.
Yeah.
But he humbled me. He said, you're not invincible." And I'm so glad he did. But
Yes.
I got to experience that on my own, outside of an institution, outside of peer pressure. I got to experience that by myself out in the middle of nowhere. And I just thought, that is what it's about. And I was so thankful for that. And it was
Yes.
unfortunate. I almost died. I did lose a vehicle. I did, I wasn't impaired. I was going to work that morning, but I got to experience a force. And I think a lot of people, I think this is where the spiritual awakening is. I think a lot of people are starting because times are getting harder.
Yep.
And I think that they're starting to rely more on God because that's when we're truly faithful, man.
Yes. Yep.
And so I got to where I quit complaining. I've got to, I had to make some hard decisions this year, really hard decisions for me and my family. Um, and I just got to the point I said, "Thank you, God, man. Thank you, because you see fit for me to do this." So
Amen.
that's a blessing.
Yes. Amen. Amen to that. Yes. I love it. Absolutely. Nope. Nope. Yeah, it's funny how you say that when the word most faithful, when we have to rely on him, and that when you feel like you only have him, that's when I mean,
That's the
you
best
tend to,
place.
yeah, you get into the Bible more, you start praying more, you start praying harder, and yeah, that's yeah, I love that.
It is. It's true, man. And um, I've seen a lot of um I've seen a lot of guys say because I live in Virginia, so we just legalized Virginia or Sunday hunting probably, I don't know, maybe 12. God, I'm getting old, man. Maybe 12, 15 years ago, something like that. It might not have been that long, um but I noticed a lot of people started putting on, Facebook. It was like, I feel closer to God in that tree stand. I feel closer to God doing this, doing that, doing that.
Yep.
I'm not one to speak for you. I don't know. I don't know your heart. I don't know
Yep.
that relationship. I do think there is probably something to it because I know when I was at my lowest point in life, that's where I was. I
Yep.
mean, I wasn't in a deer stand, but I was by myself.
Yep.
Um, but that topic comes up a bunch. Again, I don't know if it's the algorithm or what, but I see a lot of that conversation
Yep.
goes on, especially the start of the deer season. All this
Yes.
started the deer season.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, you're from Michigan. You're a big deer hunter. So
Yeah. Yep. I'm a big deer.
yeah, are y'all legal on Sundays?
Yeah. Yep. No, you know what's funny? The only place I've ever been that doesn't allow hunting on Sunday is Pennsylvania.
Yeah, that's true. Yep.
And actually, it's a lot of the Northeast states are more the no Sunday hunting.
Which is it's very odd, right? Because I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, that's
typically they're more of a progressive state.
yeah, yeah. Which I was like, huh? And I went up there and I've turkey hunted Pennsylvania the last couple of years, and the guy up there was like, yeah, we're not allowed to hunt on Sundays, and I was like, really? Like, we've never not been able to, and
Yeah,
but I mean, his family, I mean, they're also big into God and everything, so I mean, honestly, I didn't look at it as a bad thing because I mean, some people push off push off the ideal of going to church like, oh, I only get to hunt Saturday and Sunday, but being in church on those days, it is awesome. I mean, I do love being in the woods and watching the sunrise, watching the birds wake up and everything, but there is a feeling when you're in church, when you're surrounded by all them people, it does feel, I mean, it's awesome.
there's something special to it.
Yes. Yep.
There's a um in that awakening that we're going through right now, I think this may be harsh to say, but I think there is a death of a church, but I think there is a new church being born right now
Yes.
as we speak.
Yep.
And I'm starting to, and we see that separation and division, and people, they want to start throwing in the political, terms. And I'm like, hold on. I said, there's a
Yep.
new church. Well, new's not good. Well, the old wasn't getting us there.
Yeah.
Okay. We're in this position because it wasn't working. And
Yes. Yep.
that's not to take away the Old Testament. That's not to demean God. That's not to take away Jesus's power. I'm not saying any of that. What I'm saying is the I really don't know how to say it, to be honest.
Yeah.
I've just witnessed it, man, and I've just seen people, I mean, turn on fire, son. I'm talking they're getting excited about it and they're seeing things from a different perspective, and it has humbled me, man. It's
Yeah.
humbled me because you understand that we're going through a change, and yeah, America's right now is not in the best of terms,
No.
and on a
No.
lot of metrics, but um I think God's making a comeback, dude. I
Oh,
really do.
he is. Yeah, no, there's no doubt about that. And the one thing about the like the new age church that I think is kind of was headed in the wrong direction. People like Billy Graham and the pastors back in the day, they were willing, like me and you were talking about, you might offend people, but
They didn't
it's
care.
only yeah, no, it's because hell is real.
That was real.
And I mean, it's a very real thing. And not that we want to offend people, but if they only knew
How
what
bad
will
it
come
is.
after this life if you are not saved, I mean, you'd want to tell everyone too, because I mean, who I would not want to spend eternity in a place like that. That's with the absence of God. I mean, there's no happiness. No, I mean, that's why you almost have to be on fire. You have to be able to help spread the word. And because if not, there are going to be people that never get to experience the glory of God and heaven, and because they're headed down a path where they think it's okay to be lukewarm, and you can't be a lukewarm Christian right now. I mean, you have to be on fire. I mean, you our pastor's been speaking on it, and he's real, and he'll come right down to it, and he'll tell you, and it might offend you, but I mean, I would rather offend somebody than them spend eternity in hell. There's no doubt.
That's well said. That's perfect, man. Because have you ever, Tanner, have you ever been in a place and felt the absence of God?
Them times when I tell you I felt alone, when you feel like you literally have nothing. I've felt that way before, and it's yeah, yeah,
That's a
no,
dark, that's a
that's a
dark place.
that's a terrible place. And this summer I felt that way a few times, and it's funny what medicine will do to you, because I was on a medicine and then I stopped taking it, and it did put me in a dark place. And I mean, I found myself a few times all by myself, and it was like there's nothing. You're by yourself. I mean, you feel terrible. You feel crushed. Well, yeah, yep.
Oh, it's a if that is eternity, that feeling there, if anyone has ever experienced that feeling there, if that is eternity, I don't want no part of that.
No,
I
no,
I've been there.
absolutely not. Absolutely not.
You
Mm.
know, um, our suicide rate in our country has steadily climbed for the last 30, 40 years. I just looked at the numbers the other night. I mean, we're at like 14 per 100,000. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's something
Yeah,
stupid like that. And um, we don't want to we don't want to offend anybody, but it's okay to let that many people die per country. That's it. That's just in the United States. And the United States is in the middle of the suicide rate rating for all the countries in the world. I did not know that.
Jeez. I didn't either. That is crazy.
Well, I say country. I'm the map I looked at was continents, so I just
Okay.
took continents and
Yeah.
combined them. Um, but we were in the middle, man.
Man,
And like you get to like places like I want to say like Russia. There, like Russia's suicide rate is outrageous. Now, can we
really?
trust these numbers? I don't truly know.
Yeah.
But I do know that the trend is going up for us. I do know that. And I think people they feel that sunken feeling and they feel that emptiness and they realize they feel it for so long. They try medicines, they try these different therapeutics. They don't work. And
No.
they say, well, there's just no hope. I'm
Yep.
no good to anyone else. I'm gonna just check out, and that's why I mean, I know with the guys, that's what it comes down to. I'm just more of a drag than anything,
Yep. A
and they
burden.
check. Yeah, you're a burden on people, and that's what people think. I know that's what I thought,
Yep.
and they just check out. And with the feminism movement, with the with the alphabet mafias, you know who I'm
Yep.
talking about.
Yep.
You
100%.
know, yeah, and they're knocking on every door because uh, I don't think. A lot of these people, I don't think they're real human beings. I really don't. I think they're just demons in skin suits. I just don't.
Yep. Yeah.
The stuff I hear about from people about abortion, I think,
Yeah. Oh
oh,
my.
there's no way. There's no,
No.
I hope to God I'm never in a bad situation with you because you're gonna kill me.
Yeah.
There's no doubt,
Yep.
you know.
Yep.
And and I used to get really, really mad at these people.
Yep.
But then I realized I was like, I just don't know if they're actual human beings. Sure, they've got the skin and the eyes and the hair, but I was like, I mean, if you're down there on Epstein Island partying for 30 years,
Oh
20
man.
years, whatever, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and you think that's okay?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I
Come
just
on.
watched excuse me. I just watched Taken. You remember Taken with Liam Neeson in it from
Yeah. Yep.
2008?
Yep.
Yeah, old movie, right? So, and well, I started watching here a while back, but I got a daughter now, so I turned it off. I was like, I can't watch it. Well, that everybody was gone today. It was raining. I was working on my website, and I was like, I'm gonna turn it on. So I turned it on, and to listen to those guys say this was 2008. This is well before we knew about Epstein Island and all these different sex trafficking and human trafficking rings. To listen to them talk about the value of human life, just like, oh yeah, it's a girl, it's just business, it's just not. That's not a human being. There's no way that's a human being,
There's no
dude.
way that no.
God
No.
didn't make that, dude.
No. Nope. He did not. No. Nope. That's that whole abortion thing that does that ruffles my feathers quite a bit. I am a big believer in life.
Yeah.
I,
Um,
yeah, I can't even stand having a kid now. I can't even imagine the thought of that's a human life and you killing it. And like I see, I just there's no way. There's 0% chance, and that's this could probably get off topic, but like parents that leave their kids or
dude,
choose drugs or choose alcohol over your kids. I do not understand how the love for your kid and there's a there's something else out there that you could possibly love more, like a drug or that you would leave your kid, or you just I don't you know what I did the deed to have the kid, but I'm not going to take care of it, and that right there drives me nuts. And I mean we're seeing a lot of that nowadays too, a
yes.
lot of it.
To
And
to watch. So I went out. I went across the U.S. last year turkey hunting. I hunted several different states. Slept in my truck, the whole ordeal, and then came back. Took 2 weeks off of work. I got an extra week of vacation last year, and I said, man, I'm gonna do it. I've always
yeah,
wanted to do it, and ended up in New Mexico. Drove 24 hours straight back. I didn't sleep, nothing. Drove 24 straight
wow,
hours. And I got back, and my daughter, when she come out there, man, she's gotten to where like at that time she could, kind of form sentences, but like you knew what she was saying. And
Yeah.
she come out there, dude, and I hugged her, and I was just like, I have never missed something so much in my life. I
Yeah.
was gone for 17 days.
Oh man.
And the one thing that we at that time that we did a lot of was she would ride with me and mow grass. Like she'd ride on the mower with me. So I got out of the truck, went out there, got the mower, and we got on the mower and we just mowed grass. And I just made circles and circles and we mowed the grass, but I just kept, I just
Yes.
turned the mower, I just turned the blade off and just
Kept
because
on
man,
driving.
I and I've told my wife at that time I didn't have a son. I have a son now, but at that time I said for a man to look at a daughter, that little girl looking at him like he is Superman to that little
Yes.
girl, and
Mm.
to not want to be a part of that, there's something wrong there, buddy. There's
Something wrong.
something majorly
Yes.
wrong there.
Yes. Yep. Yep. I do a lot of traveling myself, and I do it during deer season, turkey season.
All right, guys, one of my big time sponsors of the show, pimpmypublic.com/org, is doing an Alaskan giveaway for turkey hunts this year. The first two winners is going to go on an all inclusive bush plane ride. They'll actually put you on a cruise ship and you'll be right up there. You'll port in Nome, Alaska, and then from there you'll go and hunt the entire state of Alaska for the wild turkey. It's all inclusive for the first two winners at pimpmypublic.com/org, which has been a phenomenal sponsor of my podcast and a big supporter. So I'm very thankful for them. Um, their background is if you want to go out of state, I get asked every year, hey, Derek, where are you going to go this year? And I go, I don't know. Let me open up pimpmypublic.com/org. And then I flip it open and I go, which one of the 54 states do I want to go hunt this year? So I'll scroll through and I go, oh, hey, look at that. There's Maine. And then I'll select Maine. I go to it and I'll find Farmer John or Miss Jan Jackson, whoever, and it's hundreds of farmers, thousands of farmers with millions of acres just for you. And all you have to do is go to the app, download it, put it on your phone, your Pixel, your flip phone, your brick phone, your Nokia, whatever it is. Get on there, interact with the farmers and the landowners, get out there, go hunting, take a youth, take whoever, and enjoy the great outdoors. But this year, if you're lucky, you can win one of the two spots to go to Alaska and hunt turkeys. I hope this works out for you and good luck to you. Well, we were talking about, there there's several epidemics that are going on in our country. We have the drug epidemic. We have which is that's a very complex problem. I don't think a lot of people understand it because I didn't understand. I have a buddy that's a pharmacist. I didn't
Yep.
understand it until he weighed in on it for me. We went up to New York a couple years ago, and so he sat in the truck with me, 12 hours, whatever it was, and we sat there and man, he told me some things, dude, that made my head spin. It's a very complex problem. Um,
Yeah.
the marriage epidemic, um, that's a problem. We have a problem with
Yes.
the kids, the absentee parent problem in our country. We have, you know, we have soft leadership. We have weak people leading our country. Um,
Yep.
not just on the political spectrum, but uh, even in the local space.
Yep.
There's a
Yep.
lot of issues, and every one of them points to the absence of God. Every single one of them. Every one of them.
Every single one of them. Yep.
And
Yep.
I talk with people. I'm a problem solver, right? Most men are, right? That we like to
Yep.
like when I hear somebody complaining about a problem, I go, that's cool. But how do we fix it? Okay, what's the problem? How do we
Yep.
fix it? Okay, let's do that. And
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of just complaining about things because it
Yep.
irritates me. And I'm like, okay, well, talking about it isn't going to fix it. What are we going to do? So when I hear people start talking about these problems we have in America, and I go, okay, but like, how do we fix them? And they go, well, we need another president. I'm like, we've had 200 some of them. We're still in the same position. What are we going to do? And they're like, well, we need the Republicans. I'm like, right. Well, they were all down there on Epstein Island too, though. You remember? And they was like, yeah. And I was like, but you know what we could use? Some God.
Jesus.
Well, what you think?
Hmm.
We get some God up in here, get a little bit of Jesus, let him come up in here. And they're
Yes.
like, and they're like,
Yes.
they're like, no, Derek, and I've had people tell me this. They go, I'm just not religious. And I said, oh, you will be when you die. And when you go away from here,
Yeah.
you're gonna find out you're gonna start believing in all kinds of things.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
the thing is, people look at me that personally know me, and they're like, dude, you are such you are a bad person. Because I really am. I am, dude, the things I've done in my life, I never got a confirmation email when I got saved, but
Yeah.
I do believe the words. I believe the red, and I believe the black ink. And I tell them, I'm like, guys, there's a force out here of power. I'm talking about unimaginable power that can do things for you that you never dreamt about, that can put you in places that you can only imagine, right? Like the song, you can only imagine about these places
Yes. Yep.
because of him. That's it.
Yes.
There's not,
Yep.
well, and they say, well, what about I don't know, Derek. What about, I mean, there's thousands of religions. Yep, and they know where every one of those cats are buried. They found them all.
Yep.
They know exactly where they're
Yeah.
buried. They even built monuments for them. They got temples. Christianity is the only one where you deny yourself.
Yep.
That's the only
Yep.
one.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
you receive riches when you deny yourself. That's the only one. And I'm sure
Yep.
there's going to be some person watch this. They're going to say, "Yeah, but I know a guy that believed in this religion, and he sold his car, and he forgave this person. He got," and it's like, right. Well,
Right.
I don't know if
Right.
historical data backs that up, but if that's what you believe, that's what you believe. But I'm going to tell
Yep.
you,
Yep.
I have felt him. I felt him, dog, and I've seen the actions in my life and everything in that book, the playbook that they give you with the Roman roads, and they start telling you, hey, you get saved, you go through this, and then, like I said, you get through that full gamut, and you go, it's exactly how they said it was going to happen.
Yep.
I gotta
Yep.
go with
Right down to the
I
word.
gotta go with him, man.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Now, when you talk about being a bad person and the things you've done bad, in the book of Acts, wasn't it Saul that
Was killing Christians.
killing Christians and God used him to become a
He wrote most of the
disciple,
New
or was it
Testament.
a prophet? Yeah. Yep. And I was reading it this morning. I I read it every morning in my truck, and I was just reading it the other day, and I thought God will use, like you said earlier, some of the most broken and some of the just like he's not he don't have to be perfect to come to God. He calls on perfect people to come here, um, which is what makes I mean, it just makes it that much more, special that you don't have to be perfect to come to Christ.
That's
But
amazing, man.
on your yeah, yeah. And that was crazy to me, because I've really started to get into reading my Bible a lot more now again, and reading that's something that, like, I did the 365-day reading plan
Did you like that?
2 years ago. Yeah, yeah, no, I did, and it said it was a year, and it probably took me like a year and a half, just because how it gets,
Oh yeah.
and then another thing, I was just talking with a guy about this the other day. It's crazy how when you start veering off track, how God uses things in life to bring you back. And and I had for those for the last couple of years I've been pretty like I mean every morning I'm reading it. Um and then there's like this small last I don't know half a year or more that I kind of got off track. And I mean, I read the daily verse every single morning and I pray, but like I wasn't putting myself in my Bible more. And I was expecting God to talk to me. Like I was praying, Lord, I want you to speak. I want to hear you. And I hurt my ear. And like you said, when you're in a spot where you believe you're
I
on your
saw
own,
I seen this post.
yeah, when you believe you're on your own is is the time when you rely on Christ that so much more. And I put myself back in the Bible, and it was crazy because one morning I'm reading my Bible, and well, before I went to read, I pulled off on the side of the road at a place I read every morning, and I said, Lord, I would love for you to speak to me. And a wise guy once told me, if you want to hear Jesus speak, open your Bible. And so I said, I would love for you to speak to me, and because I just felt like everything. And I'm reading an Acts, and I go through this area where um, it was the guy in the wheelchair. Um, couldn't I think he couldn't walk or something? They called him lame, or I'm having trouble thinking about it at the exact moment. But um, his faith had him healed, and I wrote next to it. I just wrote faith, and like I underlined everything, and then I wrote faith, and I kept reading. I got to the end, and I remember looking back at it, and I just seen that word, and I didn't think about it when I wrote it. I just wrote it because it was like one of the first things that came to my mind. And then I sat there and I thought, that's what God was trying to tell me. Have faith. And faith if that dude couldn't walk, he had the faith that Jesus could heal him, and Jesus healed him. And it was like, I need to just have faith that everything's going to work out. And like you said earlier, God's not going to put you in a position that you can't handle. And he has seen his way. I've seen my way through it with him so far. And I went from some of the most terrible pain in my ear to I'm talking with you right now, and it's not hurting. It's not feeling weird. And like I said, I just see Jesus move too much just to know that he is real. So I just keep going off on his story.
That's awesome, man.
Just
Yeah,
wandering.
that is I think the best feeling, dude, I've done a I've done a lot of great things like in my life, like things that I've set out and I'm like, I want to do this. Oh, they feel good. You ride that high, for a good, 28, 36, 48, whatever it is, and you feel so
Yeah,
good about it. I accomplished it. And it may take years to accomplish what you want to do. And you accomplish it and you're like,
yeah,
oh, you know, and the next challenge comes up. You're like, all right, I gotta. But to be in complete darkness, totally alone, feeling that deep, sinking, sunken feeling. And anyone that's ever felt that knows that feeling. I can't explain
yes,
it for you, but if you felt that feeling, you know what I'm talking about. That emptiness, that
yeah,
complete desertion. And
yeah.
to just say, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm gonna trust you. I don't know what I'm doing, but I have to trust you.
I have
And
to
buddy,
trust
when
you.
you
Yep.
go through that obstacle course and come out on the other side, that by far, I think is still the highest of highs you could ever have. And
Yes. Yep.
if drugs feel like that, I see why people get on them. Because when you go through that and you go, oh, he was there the whole time. I just didn't see him. He was there the whole time.
Yep. Right there.
That to me,
Yep.
that's a high, buddy. That's a high. I want to be high on that all the time. But
Yeah. All the time.
there's no better
Yep.
way, man.
Yep.
Well, I'll tell you what, man.
Nope.
Let's let's I never want to deviate from that because there's somebody, Tanner, that is struggling like you are, they're struggling like I am, and they hear these stories and it gives them some sort of motivation to continue that because they're in that dark void right now and they need that little bit of inspiration, not from us, but just the words to say, he's still there, don't forget. He's still there, don't
Yep.
forget.
His grace.
So I never
Yep.
want to deviate from these things. But and I may chop this up and I may put this at the beginning uh here
Okay.
after this. But man, give me your backstory, man. Where are you from and how'd you get into hunting? How long you been doing it and all that good stuff?
I'm from Michigan. My dad is he's pretty much the reason I got into hunting in general, but he was never a turkey hunter. Um, and um, Turkey hunting has become my biggest passion as far as the outdoors. Um, but he got me into bow hunting at the age of 10. That's our legal age, and I killed my first deer with a bow when I was 11, and that absolutely hooked me. And I've I spend every single day in the woods during deer season, and during turkey season I do the same. And he never did turkey hunt. Matter of fact, I took him out turkey hunting, and we had birds gobbling inside of 20 yards, spitting, drumming, doing the whole thing. And they came in on our weak side, and he's a lefty, and I set him up like I was a righty. And birds came in on our left side, and they ended up working off, and he never got a shot. And he said, we were walking out, and he said, son, I think that was my last turkey hunt. I said, well, that was your first turkey hunt. He said that just that didn't do it for me. And I said, okay, well, he said I could hear you breathing, and because I was sitting there filming, and I was like, I couldn't keep it together, and he was cool as a cucumber. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, well, guess if that don't do it for you, there ain't no need to do it.
Hey,
So,
not to
um,
interrupt you. I've had a I've had that happen before to me. I've had it happen one time to me before, and same kind of deal. I mean, the turkeys had done, I mean, they done everything like you dreamt them to be. End up
yeah,
killing a bird, and the guy was like, he didn't shoot. I shot it. He just wanted to go. He just wanted to see it, And I shot the turkey, and he went. He was like, I just don't know, man. He's like, I just. So we went again, and I ended up killing. He didn't even tow the gun. He said, I just want to go again and watch it. I killed another turkey, and I'm talking, I shot this bird at like 30 yards. And I'm talking strut drumming, dragging the wings through the leaves,
oh,
in the hardwoods, in the mountains. And he said, it's so nothing for me. And I said, dude, I told him, I said, you're the only person I've ever heard to not enjoy that. But
now you
hey,
heard too.
it's not for everybody.
Nope, nope. I have a we have like a little tradition. Me, my brother, and my best friend, we hunt opening day of turkey season every year together. And my my brother and my best friend, I don't believe they'd even turkey hunt if it weren't for me. But um, they get into it, but they're not. They're just like, I just like going with you, and
Yeah.
that's good enough for me. I love it.
Yeah.
So, yep,
Yeah, man. I cut you off there. So you took your dad hunting. He said, not for him.
not for him. Nope. But yeah, no. But he's been a pretty big foundation for the whitetails on the other end, and we do a lot of that as a family. And but as far as the turkey hunt, I mainly do it around here. I'm like I don't have like a bunch of friends that are big into it. I don't have no one that's big into traveling around me. Um, I have a buddy up your way in Pennsylvania that I travel with a little bit, and one dude just south of me that we've went out west a few years, and I've kind of got him into turkey hunting with a gun. He was big into bow hunting them. We
Uh,
had no decoys, and bird popped over a ridge, and he's like, "He's right here. He's right here," and he's got a bow in his hand. And I said, "Hey, how about this? How about when we get back to the truck, you just take my backup gun because we could have had a dead bird right there." So, but yeah, so yep, that's kind of a little bit of my backstory right there. And Yeah, like I said, I'm from Michigan. We have the birds and we have the whitetails. A lot of them, both.
Ah, man, I tell you what, man, talking to you, I swear to you, man, it's like talking to somebody. It's like talking to myself with a little different accent. I mean, it truly, because I mean, when I grew up, I was just on my last episode I did with a guy. He's from right here around the house. We got to talking. I'm not originally from where I live at right now. I
Okay.
live, well, I'm not gonna say it on the internet, but
Yeah.
I don't live like where I grew up at. And
Okay.
but me and him got to talking, and he become a fan of my calls and all that stuff. Really nice fella, but I got to talking to him, and I said, "Man, when I was growing up back in the late '90s, mid 2000s, dude, there was not anyone that I went to school, and I grew up in the
Yeah.
country, and
Yeah.
everyone was a big deer hunter, but nobody turkey hunted. And I'd come to school because I turkey hunt before school, and then
Yeah.
I'd come in. Now, once I got my license, son, I was gone all the time, because I had to catch a school bus at like 7:05. So
Yeah.
I had about a 30-minute window to kill them for like 2 weeks out of the year. But so I'd come to school and I'd be like, man, I was like, we whacked one this morning, and they're like, oh, that's cool, they go back to,
Yeah.
whatever we was doing, shop, whatever.
Yeah.
But man, but for me, man, I was like, you know, there was some older guys, that grew up in the late 70s, 80s, hunting turkeys, you know, during that time period. And they were the first ones I had a Nokia brick phone. I'd call them. And I'd be like, yeah, this is back in the day, man. I'd
Oh,
call them. And of course I didn't have service for nothing out there, but they could hear them wings flapping.
yeah.
And I was like, oh, it's like you knocked one in the head. I got him. And man, and still to this day, those guys still are my heroes. Like I look at them, I talk to them all the time, and I'm like, man, if it wasn't for you cats, I don't know if I wouldn't. Because my father, he turkey hunted some, but we didn't we didn't really. I felt like there was better ways to do it. I'll just say that. I felt like there
Yeah.
was better ways to do it. And so at 13, I started hunting by myself, and I was like, I'm gonna figure this out, and I did, and like it was weird, man, because like nobody, I mean, I tell people all the time, man, dude, back in those days, turkeys gobbled everywhere. I don't know how it
Yeah.
is in Michigan, but here in the South, it ain't like that no more.
We were getting ready to head out west. I said, buy a tag. We'll hunt Sunday and we'll head out Monday morning. Sunday morning, the first hour, he killed his bird, and we had already had 5 birds. I mean, we were set up on 2 or 3 gobblers. The one landed in gun range, just I mean, real quick, dropped its head right over the edge of the ridge, and he ended up working off. And my buddy was like, "Man, we were already like this bird gobbled 150 times. It seemed like on the limb." Well, we dropped down in this valley, popped across a small field. I hit the call inside the next woodlot. Bird gobbled, and within 5 minutes, the bird was flopping. And he's like, "You guys just got the birds." I told him, I said, "I'm telling you, Michigan is unreal. I mean, we've had opening weekends. We've killed 7, 8 birds, and
Oh my God.
yeah, I'm talking these. Our opening weekend is phenomenal here. I mean, we have some of the.
Hey,
It's
hey,
awesome.
Tanner,
It's
hey, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, man, I'm gonna cut that out because I'm telling you, dude, I know too many guys that'll be knocking on your door. So I'm gonna just go ahead and cut that out. We'll just leave it at you live in Michigan and
we
you've
live
had
in
some pretty good
Michigan.
hunts.
We got no turkeys. No turkeys, small deer.
I don't want to hotspot Michigan, man.
Yeah,
So
yeah. No, I
but
don't. I
uh
totally understand.
but now but now daggone it, we're running down on 7 minutes. My
I
gosh, have
seen
we
that.
talked that much?
Yeah, we talk a ton.
Oh, we talking a ton. But now Michigan, um, now I've always heard Michigan for the deer hunting. Is that true?
We have a ton of deer, but we're not like the states like Illinois and Iowa and some of them. like Ohio. Ohio's like a really big buck state. Now we are starting to get better because of the new um, fad on social media where if you're not killing a big buck, why even hunt? So a
Right.
lot of these people that are hunting now are just, I mean, they are starting to wait on bigger deer, and I guess I could say I mean, I've shot a lot of deer, so like now, and I hunt every day, so I can allow deer, like I pass a lot of deer because I hunt so much. I can't say if I was in a different state, if I didn't get to hunt a lot, I'd probably shoot the first buck or
Right.
whatever. But yeah, we have pretty good deer hunting. My brother killed one this year that went in the mid 150s. His father-in-law killed one in the 170s and one in the 160s. Um, and then I killed one just at the 130 mark, which was my biggest buck with a bow. So, well, actually, it was borderline my biggest buck. I don't put tapes on many deer, but um, the bigger ones they like to dink around and check. I don't put tapes on 'em. I let my buddies tape them because I think it takes away from the deer. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, we have good deer hunting here.
So I'd always seen, I was just talking to somebody the other day about this. Um, Michigan, from what I heard, is like the outdoorsman paradise of the North, is what I've always heard.
Yep.
Um, and I had always seen, man, ever since I was a kid, I'd always seen these like magazine articles, like these old like 1950s, 60s pictures of guys in like the UP, they'd be up there like hunting, and then like the North Woods of Minnesota and stuff. And like I
Yeah.
always thought, I was like, dude, that has got to be awesome, man. Like,
It's
deer season
beautiful.
up there, I'd see there was like camps of like 30, 40 guys, and like they'd have like 15 bucks hung up, and I was like, and I've always I've always thought, I was like, man, that's got to be a big deer hunting state.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, we have a ton of our gun it's like we're like an army here come opening day of gun season. It's I
The
would
Orange Army.
it's the Orange Army. We're like Wisconsin. We Wisconsin has a giant number of gun hunters and we have a terribly high number of gun hunters, and I wouldn't hunt public land in Michigan opening day. I wouldn't hunt it with a gun at all, just because it would be unsafe, in my opinion. There's a lot of people that do it and they kill some good deer, but um, yeah, we have, I can't remember the number, but we have like a ridiculous amount of hunters per square mile. Um, and that's for the longest of time. And our numbers are going down right now with people. Um, and I
So
think,
so the last episode I just did, we talked about that hunt numbers. Do you think the hunt numbers are going down for y'all?
yeah, yep. Yeah, and
For real?
yeah,
Hmm.
our license sales are down by quite a bit. And I'm a firm believer in the fact that it's because of how social media has made hunting. It's if you're not shooting a big buck, you're not like the cool kids, and
That's
that's
a really good point. Yeah.
that's the farthest thing away. And you'll have a young kid go out there, and his buddy might be shooting deer because he's got 150 acres, and his dad puts in food plots and manage. You might only hunt public land, or you might have 10 acres or 15 acres, and you're not shooting those deer. Well, they just give up. It's like they don't care. It's like, well, I'm whatever. And that, I think social media is starting to ruin hunt in general. And I even see it in turkey hunt now, that the whole a lot of the debates right now, instead of people being on each other's team, they're starting to push people away, I believe.
Yes. Um, so uh yeah, so I do these funny ads on here. They're not real.
Yeah.
But I do them because people get worked up about them and I think it's funny.
Hmm.
And one of them, I'll probably insert it like right here somewhere. But one of them is, I may cut this part out, but one of them is Pimp My Public,
Yeah.
and pimpmypublic.com /.org / Comer's Game Calls. Because, and it's not, obviously it's not a real website, but the funny part about it is that there's a lot of argument and discussion about public land. And so here in the South, fire burning Controlled burns are really big here. I don't know if they are up north. But like here, down here in the South, controlled burns are big, and they do it right around when turkey season is. So a lot of nests get burned up, and they say, well, the
Ah,
numbers are down, and then people say, well, the hunt numbers are up, and so there's this big controversy going on. But every year, for the last little bit, the amount of the amount of turkey surveys that have come out, and I'm not going to say the state because I don't want to
yeah,
hotspot it.
yeah,
There's a certain state. Uh, well, how do I word this? There are certain states that the numbers are going up, but everyone's saying that, well, there's so many people and this and that. And so last episode, like I said, we talked about this extensively. Are the numbers going down, hunt numbers going down, and it's allowing the game to flourish, or are the hunt numbers going down, or the hunt numbers going up and the game is going down? So I mean, who
yeah,
knows?
yeah.
But
That's yep.
it's hard to tell. But with man, honestly, I try to, man, whenever I have somebody on, I try to make sure that they always talk the most, and I've talked a lot, so I apologize for that. Um, man, whenever I hear somebody, and you can smell it on somebody, man. Somebody that loves it the way that you do,
Yeah.
and I haven't met many of those people. I've met a lot of turkey hunters in my life. I've met a lot of turkey killers in my life, but when you meet somebody that loves it to that level,
Yes.
it's a
Yes.
different, I'm telling you, son,
It
and
is.
you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, absolutely.
Um, the first time I went to the NWTF convention, ever since I was a kid, man, I used to want to go to that, man. I'd beg my dad to take me to it. We never went to it. So I ended up meeting my wife and everything. I was like, we're going to this thing in Nashville. I said, if you want to go, you can go. If not, I said, I'm going by myself. I'll sleep in a trash can. I said, I don't care. She's like, well, I want to go. So she ended up finding this hotel room. We ended up going there, and it was everything I ever dreamed about. And so this is
Yep.
how I know heaven's real, because
Yep.
everything I've ever seen in my head and dreamed about heaven, and I look at it, and I think if the NWTF convention can be everything that I've ever dreamed about, then I know heaven's got to be way
Oh,
better than that.
yeah, way better.
So, and I got there and I never realized how much people loved it the way that I loved it. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Yep.
And I was like, these people have dedicated their life to a sound,
Yes.
to a
Yep.
certain frequency, a vibration, and a sound. And to me, I fell in love with that, and I'd been in love with it for all my life. But to meet someone else, it kind of, I guess, it gave a little more structure to it. It was like, oh, okay, hey, there's more people like this. So
Yeah.
talking to you, I get that same feeling. I'm like, this cat loves it the way that I like
Oh,
it.
absolutely. Yes. I love everything about the outdoors, but turkey hunting, which is crazy because my dad's like, well, my not my best friend, but I got another one of my buddies into turkey hunting a few years back, and me and him deer hunt all the time together. We spend 90 days a year in the deer woods, and 4 or 5 years ago, before I really got serious into travel and stuff, like me and him were deer hunting every single day, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, turkey season like started becoming my biggest priority. As like it'd be almost November, and I'm still talking about turkey hunting. And he's like, "What is going on with you?" He's like, and he now he calls them stupid tree chickens, and he only says that, and he says that to get on, like to just poke at me a little bit
Oh yeah.
because I'll call them ditch goats,
Ditch
the
goat.
deer. Yeah, I call them ditch goats. Just to mess with him because he's I love deer hunt. Don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah.
I deer hunt more than most people in a year ever will. Like I hunt every single day, and I love it, and it's one of my favorite things to do. But the turkey, like, and this is like one of them things. Well, the wild turkeys brought me all across, and it has. I've two places like
Never
I
be
don't
at.
yeah, I don't go to Florida to wade through gator infested waters to just go snap a photo of something. I go there to hunt a bird that is gobbling, and it's crazy because to me, and this has got me wanting to get into kind of into taxidermy because I love the turkey so much. Like I just love everything about them, and it my wife doesn't understand it, and she's a turkey hunter. But like when we shoot a bird and it's just sitting there, and I'm just putting my hand over its feathers and looking at the
Amazing.
iridescence in them, and that's like that is so unique. And my wife always says that turkey hunters are a what does she call it, dramatic or whatever,
Dramatic.
because if you watch like Dave Owens video or if you watch any like the Chasing 49 films, like I can sit here and I feel like my heart's like beating out of my chest and I'm just watching like the Chasing 49 and she's like, "Oh my god, you turkey hunters are so dramatic." And I'm like, "If you loved it the way that we love it, you would understand why I was crying on the top of the Black Hills the day I pulled the trigger on my first Merriam." There's a feeling about that. It's like, wow, that's
And
like you
it
said.
that is such a good point, man. And it is a certain breed of people. Like I so I so this is how my year goes. From January to March, I coyote hunt, fox hunt, we predator hunt a bunch. I sell a
Yep.
whole line of predator calls. From March to June, I'm chasing turkeys. Now,
Yeah.
my mind is there from January to December. My mind is on turkeys the whole time.
Yeah.
When June gets here and that last trigger is pulled, I killed my last bird last year, um, day after my birthday, day on I can't remember. It was like right around the end of May.
Yeah.
Killed my last turkey. Um, and I said, thank God, I'm ready to go and sleep.
Yeah.
My mind immediately went to getting in that boat and going bass fishing.
Yeah.
Bass fishing's big down here in the South. I know up there it's walleye and all that stuff y'all do, and
Yeah.
which I'm envious of that too, because yeah, walleye's some good eating. But man, as soon as August gets here, it turns right back to now I'm making elk calls, so my focus is kind of turned on the elk a little bit, but it's right back on the deer, and then we fade right back into the coyote hunting.
And then the turkey
But
hunting and
that
then the
turkey never leaves my mind the whole time.
nope.
But for me, man, it's that sound. That sound. Like I hear there's a hen that I heard many, many years ago. And I sit here at the press many, many nights, and I have made a lot of really, really bad calls. I mean, they would probably still kill a turkey, but to me, that hen sets in my brain. And if I could have ever captured that hussy, I'd have captured her and I'd have kept her in my house because she had the most beautiful yelping, the most
Yeah.
perfect clucks. You could have put her on any stage in North America and she'd have smoked everyone off of it.
Yeah.
And I just think about that, and you think about the amount of preparation and the amount of love it takes to be in that arena with that long beard,
Yep.
son. Yeah, I mean,
So
you kill him, that's cool, but
yeah.
to be in the game with him, that's
Yes.
where the chess match is won.
Yes, that's where it's won. Yep. Yep. I there's nothing like sitting down on a turkey. And
Nothing.
there's also one of my favorite things in the world is seeing that white skull cap.
Oh, yeah.
And here in Michigan, we have like our we end up well, I'm sure this is everywhere, but we're like a lot of flat ground, but we'll have little places that are like just like out of like a book, whereas there's a small knoll, and then you'll just see this the tips of a fan and that white painted head just coming over it, and it's that right there. I don't know if what does it more, if it's the fan or that white skull cap. That white skull cap, and so that's hard to beat. That is hard to beat.
My dad, when I was growing up, he called it the cotton ball. That cotton ball comes up out of it, and especially if you hunt them in the fog, man, seeing that thing come up out of there, son, and you just think, oh,
Oh,
we fit to get right on one here in a minute.
it's getting Western right now.
Yeah, about to get Western, and dude, it's a but I know that you know this because you've been out of state a bunch, but it's the hope factor, and it translates right back to faith, man. It's the hope factor that, and I joke around a bunch, that hope will get you on the side of a highway any day of the week.
Yeah.
It's faith that'll get you there.
Yep.
Um, but it's that hope factor that I hope there's turkeys there. If not, it's just like you talking about that 20 acre, parcel y'all was hunting down there in Florida, and you say, I hope they're here, and
I
you
hope
may, and
they're
I
here.
know that's a long trip from Michigan to Florida,
Yes.
but it's in your heart, man. That love for you to go down there just for the chance. And I had a guy recently. Um, he called me and he said, "Hey man," he said, and this is why I talk about not hot spotting places. That's why,
Yeah.
talk about cutting things out of this
Yeah.
interview because he asked me about some places, he wanted to kill a Rio. He's like,
Yeah.
where would you recommend a man go, kill his Rio, this and that. And he said, I don't want to go somewhere based on the hope. And I said, well, you might want to get into business because they go off of numbers and it still don't work out. I
Yeah.
said,
Yeah.
the stock market crashed in '08 and everybody was looking at the numbers. I said, so you might want to
Yeah.
go with the numbers. I said, but the only thing you have is hope. Um, because that hope, buddy, that hope has put me in some beautiful places and I'll take that
Yes.
any day of the week.
100%.
And uh I've had I sat on a mountaintop. I said mountaintop. I sat on it. It was a ridge come up and it flattened off this little finger and it dropped off then this deep valley in New Mexico last year. And Tanner, buddy, I'll tell you right now, I got on my knees in that rocky soil. So I am telling you, I've picked up a lot of rocks when I was growing up off our
Yeah.
farm. I ain't never in my dad loves rocks. He loves picking up rocks. If he could have been in there in New Mexico, he'd have been so happy all them rocks that was out there. I got down on my knees and I saw it peeked over in them clouds right there on the horizon, hit me square in the face. And I sat there and I thank God for every waking moment because I said one day I'm not going to be able to climb this mountain right here. I'm not going to be able to
Yeah.
be right here at 10,000 foot elevation looking at you square in the face, thanking you for what you've
Yes.
given me. And I told my wife, I said, I got about 15 years left in me. To do this, to do the way
Yeah.
the sleeping in, on ham sandwiches and stuff. I
Yeah.
said, but now, I said, but now, but now, when I got out there and there wasn't no oxygen out there, I couldn't breathe. I run about 100 yards and fall over on my face. I didn't know if I had 15 minutes left. You know what I mean? I was chasing this one bird, man. I mean, he had whipped me for 2 days. And I come around the side of that mountain, dude, and I got down on my knees. And I honest to God, I'm telling you, Tanner, I thought I was gonna die.
Yeah.
I looked up at the sky and I said, Lord, I said, if this is it, I'm happy. I mean, it
Yeah.
was it was a good run. I said, but my God, I said, you got to give me some oxygen. And he did. He expanded the old chest cavity. He gave me a little bit of O2. But
Tell me you
but
killed
it
him.
do what?
Tell me you killed him.
I did not.
Ah.
Hey, the thing is, Tanner, is I'm not that good of a turkey hunter. I'm a really good hiker. I just kind of carry a gun with me. And if I
I do the
cross
same.
path, hey,
Yeah.
and I tell people all the time, dude, I'm telling you, every May I get an influx of messages, Facebook, text, get calls, and they go, "Hey man, I'm struggling," and they start asking because for us in the South, that's kind of like you start getting kind of like mid to later season. Um, but they start going, "Hey, uh, I'm struggling. Can you give me some tips or what?" And and I always tell them like, guys, I'm not that good. I know you see social media and you see pictures and you say, "Hey, man, that guy's killing." No, I said if you walk 100 miles a day, you're gonna cross paths with a turkey.
With
Eventually,
one. Yeah.
yeah, eventually you gotta cross paths with them.
Yeah. Well, all it takes is one willing bird.
Just one. You just need
My
one.
favorite are them 2-year-olds. They make me feel like I'm Dave Owens out there.
Hey, but that bird you killed down there in Florida, he wasn't a 2-year-old though.
No, yeah, but see, like you said about a Jake whooping on it, our Toms would have squished that thing. We have 25-pound birds here,
Yep.
25, 26, and yeah, them are tiny, but no, that was a grown man, and we actually we killed a Merriam 2 years ago with inch and quarter hooks too,
Oh
which
my,
for a Merriam's that's a dinosaur.
that's a
That was
dude.
a
That's a
hammer,
what state?
Nebraska.
You might want to you might want to check your records on that one, man. That's a big turkey, dude.
It was a big body at that, and it was in a cottonwood bottom on a dude we met at a gas station. He said we were sitting there, and he's like, you guys doing any good?" I'm like, "Yeah, I killed one the first morning we were here." And he's like, "Oh, right on." And I said, "We're struggling to get him a bird," and I had my buddy with me. And he goes, I have like 100 of them down on my place." And I said, "Do you still?" He goes, "No, not that many, but still got toms out there." And I said, "Would you let anybody hunt?" He's like, "Yeah, come on down." Drew me on a napkin how to get to his house. So here I am looking at this. I'm a million miles from home. I'm like, I could have just got an address, my phone, if I typed the address in. So I followed this place. We get there and he says, "Here it is." And it was nothing. It was like 8 cottonwood trees and a green field. And I'll be darned if there wasn't 2 gobblers out there, and we
Loaded.
killed the one, and it had absolute hammer hooks, and I'm like, "Oh my god, dude, I ain't never seen a Merriam's like this." I mean, it could have been a hybrid or whatever because
Right.
we
Right.
were like central,
Yeah.
Nebraska, so
There's a
it could have been
chance. Yeah.
yeah, there's a chance, but I was like, "Holy smokes, that's a giant Merriam," like, every Merriam I ever shot had the, like, tiny little Jake looking spurs,
Yeah.
so, yeah, that was but it was a beautiful bird, and a beautiful place to kill him too. So
Dude, that's it. That's the most awesome thing. Is those daggone Miriams. They live in a place that like and I tell it, I had a guy, I had two guys call me a couple weeks ago and they're like, man, they were like, how do we go and hunt Merriam's turkeys? You know, and I said, well, I said, you ain't gonna kill them in Virginia. I said,
no,
so you're gonna have to get out there. But I told him, I said, man, I said, you know, the good Lord, he made Merriam's turkeys for turkey hunters. You know,
hmm
the way they gobble, the
mm,
how they react to a call. Even if you don't kill them, you still feel like you're in a game with them.
yes,
And to be in that country, son, I'm telling you, oh
there
my
ain't
God,
no,
there ain't nothing better. There ain't nothing
there's
better, man.
no that I've said
And
that 100 times. Them Ponderosa pines are something magical.
oh,
I
that
love.
smell, that clean mountain
Oh
air, son. Oh my gosh.
yes, yeah,
We you was talking about the guy writing down directions on a napkin. I'm not gonna say the state because I ain't trying to hot spot it, but we was in a state out west, way out west, and we kill birds the first morning. Or my buddy killed one, and then I killed one. He killed a hammer of a bird, and so anyway, the next day we got hammered with snow. I mean, we couldn't even hardly walk. Snow melted, and we tromped snow all day long. Just, I mean, we never even stopped to eat. I mean, we tromped snow all day long, and there about 3 o'clock, the snow melted. So we didn't have to do all that, but you're
yeah,
out of state, you're a gazillion miles from home. You're trying to cut as much ground as you can. Well, so we go to a gas station, and I'm like you, I talk a lot, you know what I
yeah,
mean? And I don't care to talk. I talk to a fence post, son. I
yeah,
don't care. Well, my buddy, yeah, he's like super introverted. He won't talk. So I do the talking for me, him, and the other guy, you know. So
yeah,
we go in this gas station and we're actually going back, we're going back to like go to sleep because I mean it's like I mean the sun's still up and everything, but they're like, man, we have cut 1,000 miles of territory. And we go in there. I walk up to the cash register and this chick's got, I mean, she was a character, man. She had cages. She had a tattoo across her forehead. She had tattoos down her jawline, and she had one across her neck. And anyway, I'm joking with her. And I walked up there and I said, I guarantee you, you're a turkey hunter. And she started laughing. She started laughing. And she said, no. She said, I never. She said, where are you from? And I said, New York City. And she started laughing. She said, I'm guessing by the way you talk, you're not from New York City. I said, no, I'm not. Anyway, so
Nah.
and there's a line behind us of like, yeah, 3 or 4 people. And well, and we're dressed in full camo. And she said, where are you from? I said, we're from the communist wealth of Virginia. I said, where we love taxes and we hate our politicians. And she started laughing. And the guy behind us, he says, are y'all out here hunting? Now we're in full camouflage. And I said, well,
Yeah.
actually, we're here to take family photos. We flew the whole family out here. We're gonna take photos in the woods. That's why we dressed in camouflage. And he said, really? And the lady behind the counter said, no, he's joking with you. And he goes, oh, okay. He said, what are you hunting? I said, we're hunting turkeys. He said, okay. He said, well, if you go right up here down the road, now our hotel, we can see where we were we at. We stayed in a hotel and there's a
Yeah.
gas station right across the street. And he said, if because we flew out there, and he said, again, I'm not trying to hotspot nothing here, but he
Yeah.
said if you go right up this road here, take a right, he said you're gonna see a gate. Get to that gate, take a left. He said there's turkeys everywhere. And I said, oh, okay. And I didn't believe him. And I said, well, that's nice, man. Thanks. I appreciate it. So we actually got a bag of ice and a Gatorade. So ended up we left. Anyway, we got in the truck. My buddy said, you believe him? I said, absolutely not. I said, but here's the thing. I said, we're gonna go over there and lay in a bed, or we'd have flew thousands of miles to be out here where we're at, or we
Yeah.
could take old buddy's advice and just go up here and try it. I said, what are we gonna lose? I mean, we're right here at the hotel.
Yeah.
And he said, there's no way there's turkeys up. I said, I'm with you. I said, I don't believe it either. I'm telling you right now, they rang our ears off. They absolutely rang our ears off. We got up there and I tell her this is a plug. My coyote line,
Yeah.
HO double 11 or HO 11, coyote call. That's what I use to roost them out west.
Okay.
And when I hit it, dude, I'm telling you, the entire mountain around us lit up. And my buddy looked at me. He said, "Oh my God!" I said, "I can't believe it." So we ended up in roosting some birds. The next morning, we ended up killing 2 giants. We ended up killing a double, two of the biggest freaking turkeys we ever killed, and it all come from some guy at a gas station.
Yep.
And
Just
we left the mountain. We was on a mountain. In 10 minutes, we were in the hotel room. We looked at the map, me and him both. I mean, we look at the map. I mean, we looked at the map for 3 months. We never once marked that place because it was in the middle of town and it was legal to hunt. I said, there is no way that place has turkeys on it. But it
good
did.
Lord. They thankful for them people that are willing to share a spot.
Yeah.
Yeah. That belly. Well, I keep saying these state names, but got out west. Had a fella. We were struggling hard, and I messaged a buddy online. Well, not a buddy, but a guy I've chit chatted with, and I said, "Hey, question: when you came out here, did you hunt this certain national forest?" And he said, "No, but I'll tell you where I did hunt." He said, "But keep that under wraps between me and you. Don't be sending nobody else's pin." And he sent us there. We killed 4 birds in a day and a half. And I was like, we went from not hearing a single bird gobble in that state to killing 4 birds. And I said, I texted him, I said, you are a lifesaver. I appreciate you very much. If you ever need anything, you give me a holler. If I've been there, I'll send you a pin. That was very thankful for that one.
Yeah. And I think a lot of birds get killed that way. A lot of
Yes.
deer get killed that way too. I would say more turkeys than deer, but Um, but it comes from a network of guys like us that understand they know what it's like to be in those shoes and say, man,
Struggle.
we've exhausted every resource we've got.
Yep.
Um, and you know, I got the last 2 years, uh, guys will ask me, they're like, do you have a contact in Florida? I'm like, I've got several contacts in Florida. I said, but I'm not going to use them. I said, because I want to do it the way that I've done every other
Yep.
subspecies. I said, I want to struggle. And they're like, dude, you're sadistic. And I'm like, maybe, maybe there is some form of that. But I said, I want to experience that, and
Yes.
just because I, I mean, that's probably the hardest state to kill one in besides Mississippi. I mean, that's
That
probably the
is.
hardest state to kill one in.
Yes.
And, you know, but I said, there is a network. And I've explained this to guys. I'm like, there's a network of guys like me and you and that buddy that you talk to. And I got somebody's in the Northeast that I could say, hey, what about this place? And they'd go, maybe, but you might want to try a little bit south, try,
Yep.
somewhere else. But, and it comes from people that understand they've been on a 7, 8 day trip and ain't heard a turkey gobble. So
Yes. Golly, that sucks.
that's
Man.
tough.
Yeah. Yep. My first Merriam's hunt ever, I went to South Dakota in the Black Hills, and it was killed him. I killed that bird on day 8 after 56 miles of walking. And that's I cried. I cried that morning when I shot him, and it was like I mean, it was the most beautiful painted picture, and it we struggled. I mean, we struggled the entire week except for the first day. I called that bird in, and that buddy said he's right here, and he goofed up and had a bow in his hand, and that bird should have been dead. He was at 20 yards when
Yep.
he came over, but after that we didn't hear hardly any birds. I think we heard 5 birds the entire trip,
Oh,
um,
man.
including the bird I did. But we got out there super late. The birds had been shot up, and there was a
Yeah.
bunch of dudes down there from down south, and they're like, "Dude, we ain't hearing nothing. We're struggling." And the last morning, we ran into like 4 or 5 birds that, like, we were getting ready to leave. We had like an hour. I had to drop him off at the airport, and it was crazy because I had killed my bird, and up to that point, we'd heard 4 or 5 birds. And the last morning, we found a group of birds, and I ran into them. Georgia, they were from Georgia, a group of Georgia boys, and I said, "Hey, we're leaving. We're not coming back. Here's a pen. You can go hunt these birds. There's a pile of them in there." And he's like, "You sure?" I said, "We're not. We won't be here." But it's because I knew that 8 days of struggle and hearing 4 birds, 5 birds gobble. And like you said, it is nice once in a while to get a kind of like a help. That the kid that helped us out west last year, we luckily he sent us to a public ground, but we killed one on there. And then when we were driving around, then people out, but I asked, I said, "Hey, do you own that 20 acres?" And she's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Could we hunt it?" She said, "You can hunt anything with my name on it."
Mm.
I said, I pulled up the map. I said, "Do you own this, this, this?" She's like, "All of those are mine. It's 12,000 acres."
Yeah.
Yeah. And first river bottom or first creek bottom we walked into, we killed one the first 10 minutes we were there, and then shot a double the next morning. So in a day and a half, we killed 4 birds, and I was like, "Wow, that's thankful for that, dude."
And man, and that's all it takes is just a little bit of, um, and that's why I joke around, but like I am hesitant on like spotlighting certain places because you get guys like you and me and guys like us. It doesn't ta I had a guy I work with. He asked me every time that I tell him, hey, I'm on vacation or I'm going on vacation. He'll say, well, where are you hunting at? And I'll say, and I always
The
tell him
woods.
now I have to take the trash off. That's always my excuse. Like I got to take the trash off. And so he'll text me. He'll say, well, where you going? This guy doesn't hunt. He don't do any kind of that stuff. And and I say, and I tell him, I say, man, I was like, I can't tell you that. He said, well, I don't even hunt. He's like, why would I said, no, but you may know somebody that does. And if
Does
he's got
yep,
a set of ears like mine, he will find out where I'm at because there's been times where guys have told me stuff and I went to a map while they were talking and I'm like, were you here? And they're like, yep.
yep.
And
I've
it
done the
did.
same thing.
Yeah, it doesn't take, especially when you get out west, you get past the big river, it don't take
Yep.
much, man.
No, no.
And they start talking and you start, what kind of trees? And you start looking at that map and you're like, huh, were you in this area?
Yeah.
Yep. And so it don't take much, but even with all that technology, like you said, you get out there and you're like, daggone, we're struggling,
We're
son. So,
struggling.
but it's
Okay, so
it's a it's a I think it's a blessing on top of it though, because to walk, like you said, 56 miles, man, and then you end up toting one out of there, dude. I mean, you had to feel like Superman.
oh, like I said, it was the night before we walked back to this lake, and me and a buddy, it was me and a buddy out there, and I was like, man, this has been probably the roughest out of state trip I've ever been part of. And as we were walking our way out, I stopped and I did a coyote howl, and a bird gobbled right above us, 120 yards. And I'm like, oh, well, I didn't realize just how far Miriam's moved. So I pinned him and I was like, we'll be back there to hunt him in the morning. And he was 200 yards from where he gobbled. And, and I'm like,
Yep.
and this was 2.7 or something miles back. And we were walking in at 3 a.m. No lights because I thought we were going to walk under him in the roost.
Hmm.
He gobbled. I made a move and I was getting into a spot and I was like, I just need to crawl to that pine tree and then I'll be able to shoot the edge of this drop off. And as I was crawling, I heard something. I looked up and there was a hen roosted right above me. So now I'm just laying there and daylight starting to break. I can see the sun coming up over the lake and this mountain, and I see his white fan, and I'm like, oh my god, he's in gun range. And my buddy's like, are you gonna shoot him? I was like, I'm not shooting him off the limb. Like if he beats me after all this, I can swallow this one. That's all right. And that bird pitched down, and walked right to me. I
Oh,
mean, yelped one time. The bird pitched down, and I seen him coming. I seen that white skull cap coming up the edge of that mountain, and I snapped the safety off, and I just sat up on my knees, and it was like slow motion when we both met eye to eye. He was looking at me, I was looking at him, and I squeezed off, and it was like I just watched the pattern just in slow mo hit him, and I was like, and then I just like a
that's
baby,
it.
grown man crying up on top of a mountain.
Yeah, but you know what though, man? I think back to like I think back to all the old school turkey hunters before me that died well before I come around. I think about all of them looking down on me, and saying he did it right.
Yep,
Like
yep,
that old boy did it right, and I
yeah.
always think about that. And I'm like, man, what do the legends think about that? Like, did I live up to the hype? Did I screw it up or did I just get lucky? And either way, I'm thankful, but I
Yeah.
always think back, like, well, because I've been the same way, man. I mean, you feel absolutely defeated, and then you end up whacking one, and you almost there's a little bit of that heart you feel bad for him
Oh
because you're
yeah.
just
No. Yes.
like daggone, man, because it's a trickery. I mean, you are
Yep.
tricking an animal, and you do feel a little bit of that, like,
Guilt.
mm.
Yeah. There's like a yeah, a little bit of yeah. If you don't feel some kind of remorse after you do it, I don't know because I mean I love the turkey so much, which is crazy. And my wife said this, well, how do you love something so much you kill it?
And then
Well,
kill it.
yeah, it's weird. It's like there's got to be some kind of finality at the end. I mean, you get to that point, you love it. I mean, you think about it all year, and then it comes down to that moment you pull the trigger and you're holding him by the neck or you got him by the legs and you're just like I mean, you're in the moment. And you're just like, wow, if I could just do this again. Like it's weird saying how they said if you could breathe the life back into him, and that's weird, but it would be awesome to be able to and then just start over again and try to fool him again. That's why I like killing them in the timber. No I mean, I don't care if you use decoys, but I like just they
Yep.
come. I just want them to pop over a ridge or just come strutting down the edge or something. That's how I want to kill them. I want to kill them like you said, almost like the right way, like the legends would look back, Tom Kelly and all them guys.
Yeah, and yeah, that is a that's a it is weird. I mean, like your wife said, it is how can you love something and then want to kill it? But at the end of the day, if you do it the right way,
Yeah,
I think that's why when a a true turkey hunter, and I'm not gonna I hope nobody says that I'm like looking down on somebody, by
yeah,
that saying, but when you give them every opportunity to go the other way and you still kill him, you say, I did it the best way I could do it. And I gave him every opportunity to, in the most natural way I could do it. And I reversed his biology to come up here. You got to respect that.
oh yeah, oh yeah. You beat the boss.
You beat the boss, man.
You beat the
Yeah. And
boss.
yeah. And, shoot, dude, I've killed him before. And I used to, my goal was to, when I kill one, my goal was to be the first one to him. Like if it was a group, if it was me and another guy or me and two or three guys, I want to make sure I'm the first one to him. Because I hated them so much. I did. For the longest time, they beat me so much that I had a hatred for many years. That when I got to him, I wanted to stomp his head in the mud. That's how it all started. It was a hatred.
Yeah,
But once you stomp somebody's head in the mud, you go, okay, well, there's a little more to this game,
yeah,
because you get that hatred out of your heart. You go,
yeah.
oh, okay. But I always had that love for him. Always, like you said, I never shot one out of the tree because I always felt like I was kind of base for him. I never felt like until he gets on the ground, now we can play.
More fair game. Yep.
But, after, because I used to, when I go up to him, I had a buddy of mine. He told me, he said, man, he said, you stomped his head like you knew him for forever. And I said, well, I knew his kind for forever. And I said, they all act the same way. But it was because I wasn't that good at killing them. But once I got
Yeah,
better at killing them, I said, okay, well, if he
yeah,
beats me, my big thing now, it has been for years now, but like if he beats me, I just take my hat and I tip it to him. I'm like, all right,
yeah.
you got me. Because that's the
You
way it's
got me.
supposed to work. Hey guys, just want to tell you about our new sponsor on the show, All in One. All in One is a website based program that keeps all of your gas station value cards in one place. So when you go to BP or you go to Shell or you go to Value Mart or wherever to get your gas and $4 gasoline, all you have to do is flip open this app. It's right beside the Snap app, okay? Where you get your other stuff. And when you get off of the yacht, you get off a Bezos yacht and you left your value card on there, and the gas station clerk goes, well, do you have a value card? You go, no, Bezos has got it. I left it on the third floor of his yacht. And they'll go, well, that's okay. That's no problem. And you go, well, thanks. Can I get it anyway? And they go, well, no. You pull out your phone, you go, I've got the app. And you flip it open. Sure, it's on Snap. Get off of Snap, get to the all in one. Okay. All in one is going to it's going to save you probably anywhere from 5 to 7 cents per $3,000 worth of purchase at that gas station. Check them out. It's allinone.com/.org and then /CGC podcast for your, what's the percentage? I don't know. They change it every other day. Listen, just go there, allinone.com/.org /CGC podcast, type in /Comer, and you're going to get some percentage. Who knows what it is? Either way, you're going to save a bunch of pennies per thousands of dollars worth of purchase. I hope you enjoy it and good luck to you.
Awesome. By the way, your little picture that comes up before you come on the mic is sweet. You're like sitting there with a turkey. There's like a stump behind you. You're at
Oh,
full bottom
is that
land.
what
That's a sweet.
is that what comes up?
Yeah. Yep. It's like
Huh.
you sitting there.
And I'm
I
holding
don't
a
know where
call
that
out.
was. Yep. Yeah.
Huh.
That's a sweet
I don't
photo.
I don't know. I didn't think I actually changed that. I didn't know I customized that photo, but it must be pulling it from somewhere else. But
It knows what your podcast is
and
about.
that yeah, that's what I like. Tanner, man, I really appreciate I really appreciate you being on here for this long, man. God, dude, I could talk to you. Like I said, I've got to have you on again, dude, because we could go for a few days talking, man. I mean, we've had a
I
good
believe
time.
I believe we could. Yes, this has been absolutely awesome. It's been a refresher.
Man, I'm gonna go through and kind of ask you some kind of we're gonna go through kind of like quick draw questions. Are you cool with that?
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
The reason I want to do that is because I want to take like some of these clips and chop them up and then use them as like YouTube shorts and things of that sort. If you're okay with that.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, let me set
Okay.
this up right here.
Yeah.
Okay, that's better.
So so I guess some people I call it rapid fire. I talk I talk kind of slow, so it ain't gonna be but so rapid. So um what is your preferred choke restriction on your gun?
So right now I'm shooting a 575 Indian Creek choke and shooting the number nines through Apex.
20 gauge?
It's yep, yep. I'm shooting a Franke Affinity youth model.
Mm.
Yep, and that
That's a sweet gun, man.
it's smooth. It's tiny, but I'm not a very big guy, so
Yeah.
um, but it I had that 585 in it, and that threw a nasty pattern. But I just felt like I needed it a little bit tighter just to push through some stuff.
I got you.
So
Um, would you say you're more of a run and gun kind of guy?
yeah, yep. I'm I don't know if it's OCD or ADHD, whatever they call it, but I can't sit in one place too long. If a bird's gobbling, I'm going to him. Um, but also you got to know when to hold them, when to fold them. So,
That's right.
but I don't hunt out of ground blinds. I very rarely, if I hunt with a decoy, it's very rare, and I hate toting decoys. I'm lazy, so I'd rather just put my back against a tree and yelp them up. Use the I think woodsmanship is a giant thing in turkey hunting.
So that was my next question. Do you think woodsmanship or calling skill has more effect on killing turkeys?
Um, I've heard some pretty hideous sounding hens, so I would say if I would say
Yep.
woodsmanship kills more turkeys than anything because well they say patience does, but I would say if you're where the turkeys want to be, then I don't care if you sound most of the time like a dying chicken. In the right time where the bird wants to be, the bird will do what how it's intended.
Yes. Couldn't agree more, man. Um, camouflage preference.
Greenleaf, moss yellow greenleaf, bottom
Yeah.
line. It's my favorite.
Does it
It's my
work pretty
favorite.
good up there? It worked pretty good in Michigan?
Yeah. What's funny is me and my buddy and my best friend and my brother, we always wear the Mossy Oak Obsession opening day. I've done talked them both into getting the leafy tops and the bottoms. Not the leafy bottoms, but the nomad bottoms or whatever. So we
Yep.
all like match opening day.
Yeah.
And most people might laugh, but that's what we wear every opening day. We all three look like I don't know, we're like kitted out, and we go out there, and it's still brown out. I don't know why we're wearing the green, but we kill
So
our birds. And but
that's what I was about to ask you. Is it that green like it open a day for y'all?
yeah, no, it's not. But I do it because I'm with my brother and my best friend, and I done talk them in because usually my brother wasn't hunting until later in the year, so I told him to get some obsession where it's green. Well,
Right.
then, yeah, but no, when I'm hunting out of state or anywhere, it's the brown colors. I like the mossy oak bottomland and green
Yeah.
when it gets late. If I
You
even get
can't
to the green, sometimes I just like
you can't
what?
yeah, you can't beat bottomland, man.
No,
Um,
no, that's what.
how do you feel about, and I haven't read y'all's rules and regs up there, but how do you feel about toting a fan and reaping them?
Oh, that is such a giant question right now in the turkey hunt aspect.
I
And
know.
that's a question to me, man. So we're not allowed to reap.
Oh, you're
Um,
not allowed to. Okay.
we're not allowed to reap. That was banned like 3 or 4 years ago. I will say, um, prior to that, I was part of one, maybe two reaps. And they were an absolute adrenaline rush for the simple fact that the bird was running right down your throat. Do I think it takes skill to do that? No, I do not. I don't think there's, when you talk about doing it the right way, I don't believe that. I'm not a firm believer that's the right way to kill them. I would rather kill them yelping them in, them come in looking or something. Now, do I knock people that do it? No, I'm more of the type of guy. Whatever lights your fire, you do it that way. Does it kill more birds? 100%. But that's also because there's some kind of switch I believe that a bird turns on when it sees that fan.
Yeah.
And I think you can kill a bird with a fan that you can't call in a lot easier. But then I've seen on like YouTube channels and stuff where they've fanned them and they've took off running. So I don't know. That's just a giant discussion. I mean, I'm not against it 100% where I would tell someone you're a terrible hunter for doing that. But I don't like to do it just for the simple fact of I don't know. I don't know. It's not the way that I don't know. We can't even do it here anyway, so it don't matter.
Yeah. So, you know what's funny, man, about Virginia? So Virginia is, politically speaking, it's a blue state. It's
Yep.
a progressive state, but all of our laws, all of the things, say, with like pop culture, everything like that's progressive, we're very, very slow on. So our state votes blue, governor,
Okay.
primary, all that stuff. But when it comes to actually like laws that are passed, we're very, very conservative. It's a very strange thing.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's a Commonwealth thing, but so fanning, if you talk to anybody in legislation right now, they'll tell you what's fanning, and you'll go, "Oh, okay." And so, yeah, so we don't have to worry
Yeah.
about that. Um, and then there's a lot of people that don't even know what fanning is. They don't even know what reaping
Yep.
is. They don't know what, any of that stuff is. Um, but then you get to some states, say like Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, and everybody, there's people that don't even turkey hunt that know about reaping turkeys. Missouri's another one. Um, and it's a very weird topic, because I've had guys call me, um, from this state that don't live around me, but they've called me and they go, "Hey, what's your take on this reaping thing?" And I go, I've seen it done, and I've killed them doing it. I've killed them in another state doing it. It was the wildest thing I've
Yep.
ever seen. I was like, dude, this is the craziest thing. And I said,
Oh, it is sweet when they do it.
"Oh, it is sweet." But now, if you get a bird that is, he's been whipped up, if he's not the aggressor and he's the subordinate bird, you're gonna run him off, 100% of the time.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Or if he is a dominant bird, but he's been whipped by a bunch of jakes, which the last couple of years we've had a pile of jakes. Um,
Yep.
they'll run them off. But I told those guys, I said, I mean, it's kind of like I don't know if y'all deal with this up there, but like pretty much if you draw like a line through the middle of Virginia, like from north to south, roughly, half of the state can hunt deer with dogs, and the other half can't. And so,
Hmm.
and you ask both sides, and they're like, the one side that doesn't hunt them with dogs go, we don't want dogs over here, and the side that has dogs will go, oh, we love dogs over here. So,
Yeah.
I think it's just preference, man. Really.
Yeah. No, if they legalize it in Michigan, I wouldn't care at all. I
Now,
probably honestly, I would probably try it. Um, I did try it three years ago in Nebraska. I showed one bird a fan and he took off running and I did what I normally do and put the fan back in the truck. Because I was like, well, that one didn't work. But um because I just thought because I had done it when it was legal in Michigan. We had done it that one time or two times. I can't remember. I'm pretty
yeah.
sure. I think it was once, and the bird ran right. I mean, shot him. It pretty much self defense. It was 5 yards, and so I
So,
thought, well, I show this thing. It's a fan. It'll run right to me. No, went the other way.
and it's because and I noticed that that color too makes a difference. You know, if you've got that, you know, like we got here in the southeast, if you got that dark chocolate color versus that
Yeah,
you know vanilla color, it does make a difference. Um,
yeah.
Now in Michigan, can y'all use rifle? Is it a rifle state for turkeys?
No, I don't think you can.
It's only shotgun.
Shotgun, and crossbow.
So in Virginia, and that's I think that's on the discussion board right now is why it's ever been a thing. I have no idea, but um it's kind of a weird deal, man. It's kind of like freedom of speech. Like you got I guess you kind of got to draw lines with it because you take
Yeah.
you know, I know guys that take kids every year and they'll tow to 243 and they go up there and they suppress it and you know and like the kids love to shoot it. And I have mixed feelings about it because I'm like, man, that's awesome. You're getting kids in it, but at the same time, that's not that's not turkey hunting. You know what I mean? Um,
That is not turkey.
it's just not turkey hunting. And to me, I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair to the game. You know what I mean? And
No, no,
like I explained
no.
it, a buddy of mine, he called me last year. He's a big time rifle hunter. He called me last year and he said, man, he said, I finally called a turkey in the gun range, shotgun range. Because he'd say
Yeah.
gun range to him is 300 yards. He'd say he'd say range. And so he told me, he said, I got one in here at shotgun range. And I was like, man, I was on speakerphone with him. I was actually I was building some stuff for my kids' room. I was in there, you know, had a drill in my hand, sawzall and all that stuff. And I was like, oh, okay, well that's good, man. I wasn't listening. He said, shotgun range, my ears perked up. And I was like, oh, you called it? I said, how close was it? He said, man, he said he was 14 yards when I shot him. And I said, are you serious? He said, yeah. So he sent me a picture
Love
of
it.
him. He told me, he said, I'll never tote another rifle again. He said, that was the most fun I have ever had in my life. And I said, man,
Yes. Yep.
yeah, me and this guy, we've coyote hunted, we've deer hunted together, we've turkey hunted, he's toted a rifle, you know, and,
Holy smoke.
you know, and I told him, I said, man, I said, you know, I was like, I'm not going to put you down for it. I said, if that's what you like to do, if it's legal, hey, you know, um,
Yeah.
but so is abortion. Abortion's legal too.
Yeah.
I says, I mean, hey, it is what it is, you know.
Yeah.
And he'd always, you know, he'd get kind of edgy with me, you know.
Yeah.
But he called me that day and he said, Derek, he said, you was right. He said, I heard that. He said, turkey sounded like he was vibrating. I said, oh, he's drumming. He said, I didn't know what that was. I said, yeah. I said, it rattled your rib cage, didn't it? He said, son, I'm telling
Oh,
you, he said, my whole entire body was rattling. But he told me, he said, I'll never tote another rifle again. And I think with kids, I think we miss that with the rifle aspect.
yeah. Oh, yeah. That is crazy to me that people could hunt them with a rifle. I
And
can't you
no,
do that out west somewhere?
there's a lot of state. Florida is a rifle state, believe it or not. Yeah,
What?
Florida. And the crazy thing to me is you have to wear no blaze orange to do it. None. And like deer season,
Yeah.
you gotta wear
Yeah,
blaze orange. Yeah.
that's not safe.
With decoys. Like you're talking about DSD decoys, avian X's, like decoys that look
Yeah.
exactly like turkeys and no blaze
Yes.
orange.
That is no. I wouldn't want to reap in that state either. Or anyway.
No.
If I was trying to get
Yeah, you
shot.
have a yeah, have a 30-06, cut your noggin open. I don't think so. I don't need no haircuts. I don't need no haircuts.
No, me neither. I'm working on my mullet, so
I, yeah,
that's why
man.
I got a hat on.
Uh, so let me ask you this. So, as far as the turkey vocabulary, I know you a mouth call man. Um, what would you say the most effective call you can make as a turkey hunter is?
So now for an Eastern, um, because I out west I like to do like that bubble cluck. Um,
Oh yeah,
or it's like a wit sound too. I like a wit, like the
yeah.
Merriam hens. They yeah, they
It's a
have like
different
that
cluck.
weird. They're yeah. It's way to me it's different. And then here I don't know. I love cutting at our birds just because they gobble so much. But I would just I mean just plain yelp. That's I mean that's killed a lot more birds than anything. I mean I cut at them a lot just to get them all fired up, and then just soft yelps and work them in the gun range. I do like to cut at them when they get super tight, so I can get their head
Oh
up.
yeah,
And I like them to gobble right at the last minute,
yeah,
get the
yeah.
head up. Ah,
It's funny. It's funny you said that because I sell a call in my line 027, and it's a two breed call, and the the diehard turkey hunters love that call. Now the guys that are kind of like, I kind of like it, I kind of like turkey hunting, kind of they don't like it because it takes very very little air pressure to run it.
okay.
But that call is the first call that I learned to how to whip cluck at turkeys, and I learned it out west. And like if you go to my website, this is a plug. It went live today, by the way, for everybody watching.
Yeah.
Uh, actually, I had my first sale during our podcast. I had my first sale, um, but
Heck yeah.
when it went live, but with that call, with the way that I built it, you can actually wit cluck at turkeys. Like instead of just like pop, 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 it's more of a,
Yep.
it's got that more of a, it's got a more of a wet, it almost sounds like their mouth is wet,
Yep.
it's like a bubble cluck, but it's got a little more rasp to it.
Yes. Yep.
Um,
Yep.
that's a first call. And when I first developed that call, it's a buddy of mine. He's a really good caller. I sent it to him. And he said, that thing is money. And I
That
said,
thing
and I told him, I said, you think I could sell it? He said, if they can run calls, he said they're gonna love it. And he was right
oh
because
twenty
the
seven.
027, yeah.
Oh 27. Okay.
And when we get off here, I'll talk to you about some calls. So
Okay.
don't worry about that. But it's the special thing about it was that I learned was that I I people say they build cars. They're like, man, I studied and no, I built it on accident. Okay, I built the thing strictly on accident. I found it, and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. And I took it out west, and we killed 8 turkeys with it out west,
Oof.
in
She
about
was
four
hot.
days. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we murdered them.
Jeez.
And I was like, and because I listened to him, and I was like, man, that's exactly what it is, you know. But it took a lot of practice, but it's something about that, like you're saying, man, that wet, that kind of, it's not like our hens. Our hens here are pop,
Yeah, it's
pop, 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 pop. With them, it's like,
yes, yeah, that yeah, it's like a weird yeah, that and
yep,
the only reason I even knew that is because I heard Dave Owens. I watch a lot of his videos, but I heard him say it one time and I went,
it's a wit cluck. Yep.
"Yeah, it's a whit cluck." And I was like, "Man, that is absolutely the sound that I hear." And so I kept trying to learn it and then I started learning it. And last year I told my buddy, I was like, "Dude, I said you got to learn to do this." And the first bird, he was headed away and I went clucked at him 2 or 3 times. And next thing I know, I heard the drumming, and he was standing right in gun range, and I was like,
Yep.
"Oh, he liked that."
And it goes back to what you were saying about that about the reaping. I think the reaping out what you got to have that tail fan colored right. And I
Okay.
think the size matters too. Our birds here have a huge fan.
Yep.
Um, them birds out there, their fans are it's like Rios. Rios
Yes.
and the Mares, their fans are so much smaller. But um, if you go to my YouTube page, actually recorded it. It's on my phone, but it's on my YouTube page, and I recorded last year in I can't say where, but in a state where Merriam's turkeys are, and it's a hen gobbling. I recorded it,
What?
and if anyone's watching this wants to hear what a Merriam's turkey sounds like, cutting and clucking and purring, that's it. Because they were 10 yards from me, and she gobbled. Because
Wow.
I sat down on this bird, dude. I pulled up, got into New Mexico that night about 12:30. I slept in a place that I thought if I get raped, it's not out of the question. You know what I mean? I said, this is not a really good place to be. But I said, I feel like they're in here. Well, the next morning they weren't in there. They were
They
not
weren't.
in there. So anyway, so about midday, I went cruising. Anyway, I pulled off and I was like, that look. If I was a turkey, I would be right there. And I cut, and them birds were 125 yards. So I went in there, and I was in Crocs, and I got these. I was in my just regular old hunting pants, but like I had them unzipped and everything, like as I had the bottoms unzipped, and that joker gobbled, and I could hear, he had a bunch of hens with him,
Yeah.
and them hens out west got that super clean front end that yep, yep, pop, pop,
Yep.
pop, pop. And and I was like, oh man, I said, well, he's got company. So I'm in Crocs. I go back here in the back of the truck, and I'm sliding the gun out, and I'm trying to get shoes on. There's cows running up behind me trying to sniff my butt and stuff. And I'm in there, and I got a mouth call hanging out of my mouth. And I had a sandwich half eaten sitting on the tailgate. And I looked at that cow and I said, are you gonna eat that? And that thing they just looking at me. I said, I need to eat that. I didn't eat for like 8 hours, So I said, well, I'm gonna take my chances. So I slipped down in there. And when I got in there, once I, that bubble, once I crossed that threshold, well, all of a sudden I could hear them hens. They was running, and they was in a little meadow, but they come up there, and when I could tell it was four hens, and I was like, "Where's that longbeard at?" They're all in range. I'm like, "Where's that longbeard at?" And once I realized, I was like, "Oh yeah." And I started recording because of the dialogue. I was like, "Man, I want to record because I record all dialogue with hens." But then she gobbled. I watched her actually extend her head, and she gobbled, and I went, "Oh my God." I hit record, and I was like, "Man, I gotta get her to do it." So I started like cutting at her, and she did it right in front of me. But he's
What?
gobbling, the Longbeard is gobbling in the background, so you can hear him versus her. It's the perfect sound file. And so I posted it on YouTube,
Oh,
TikTok,
heck yeah.
yeah, man. So
I'll
you
be
gotta
giving that a look.
go to my YouTube, and the thumbnail was me. You see my face mask on and everything. But she's gobbling at 10 yards from me. That's why it's so clear. And you
Yeah,
hear them.
jeez.
So if anybody's listening to this, what me and Tanner are talking about is the Merriam's hens have a very unique sound to them. And when I developed the 027, it was developed just for Western hunt. Now, I've killed birds on the East Coast with it. Fine. I've killed birds down south with it in Mississippi, but that call to be able to produce that wit sound, that's why that call was made.
Heck yeah. No, that's a unique sound. That is absolutely a unique sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but well, let me ask you, man. So you know the big argument, right, with lead and tungsten.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
So I know you shoot the tungsten.
Yeah.
Why do you shoot it versus the lead though?
Um, well, so in tungsten, I believe I did some looking when I was shooting a 12 gauge, and it was like there's like 300 something pellets in a lead load. And then in a 20 gauge, 3 inch number nines, there's like five 500 something pellets. And
Close to 600. Yeah.
yeah, closer to 600. And my thing is not about shooting them at a long ways because like a lot of my buddies that I deer hunt with know like I'm a 50-yard guy with I shoot a 350 Legend, and that's known to shoot 200 yards, and I'm like a 50-yard dude. I do not like shooting long distance. I like shooting them with my bow at 10 yards. And so that falls me into turkey hunting. I'm more of a I like to shoot them at about 25 yards where the pattern starts opening up. And I like the fact that I can I mean, this sounds bad, but sometimes you can force it through more stuff. There's more pellets. And so, like, if you're hunting timber, it's everything's green, you can force through more stuff. And before I shot a bird, spot that out. I shot a bird over somewhere, and it was 30 yards. Bird was just coming out of full strut, and there was a little bit of briars between me and him. And I was shooting a 12 gauge with 3 inch longbeard XR number sixes. And I remember shooting that bird and then flopping all over the place. And I was so sure he was dead. I racked the gun, I laid it down, and I looked over at my buddy and gave him a fist bump. And I went to run out there. And when I did, he caught his bearings and got up
Took
and
off.
pitched off the edge of this giant bluff. And I thought to myself, wow, that sucks. And that was, I mean, I at that point I'd never done that. I've never wounded a bird at that point. I'd never missed a bird at that point. I'm like, whoa, what happened there? And then I was like, wow, that like it must there must have not have been enough power, and like with the amount of BBs that had have broken up, just hit him in the body. And then when I started doing a little bit more looking, that's when I found that tungsten. And I bought number nines, and I put it on a patterning, like I patterned my longbeards to that and a 12 gauge, and it was remarkably different. I thought I'll just hunt with TSS on a 12 gauge, and then once I started traveling, I was like, I don't want to carry a 12 gauge. I'd like to carry a 20 gauge, something
Yeah.
littler.
Yeah.
And I'm 100 at that point. I was like 160 pounds, so putting that 12 gauge on my shoulder, I was wearing myself. I've already had surgery on this one, so which is the side I put my gun into, and I was like, yep, I'm going to a 20 gauge. And then I don't know if you misjudge the yardage, if you shoot at one and you think he's 40 and he's 45, 50, you have a lot of wiggle room.
You got a lot of wiggle room. Yep.
Yes, yep. And I accidentally that bird um out west, the one I tried to reap, he left that morning. He absolutely just took off running. He did not like that. So we went back to the truck. I threw that fan in the back seat and vowed I'd probably never take that thing back out of there again. Well, that night we were sitting there, and I ended up yelping him in, and I thought he was like 44, 45 yards, and I shot him and I walked it off. It was 63 yards. But on the trigger pull, he was stone dead.
Was
There was
he
just like
what was he in the open?
wide open. He was into Ponderosas.
Yeah.
He came right down one of the rows, and
Yep.
there was a there was like a ravine between me and him,
Yep.
and he walked up on there, and I cut at him, and he gobbled, and his head came up. I thought, man, I had that red dot right on him, and I'm like, I might as well just shoot him. Like he's in gun range. I pulled the trigger, and I mean, never flopped. And my buddy's like, man, that was a poke. And I like ran out there, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a lot further. And once I come across that ditch and I came up, I'm like,
Yep.
oh my. I walked it off. It was 63 to the nose. I was like, oh man, that was a poke.
Yeah. So, my lesson, and the reason I asked if it was open, because you get in that open territory, it'll fool you,
Yep.
especially when you sit down, you're 3 foot off the ground. It
Yeah.
looks way different than it was when you're standing up. Like, and
Yeah.
in Florida's the same. Florida's a different ball game too. Exactly. Um, but we were in Kansas a few years ago, and me and a buddy of mine sat down on these birds, and I said they had to cross a county road, not a highway, but a county road. I said, there ain't no way, man. He said, man, just call at him. He calls me Bubble Cluck. That's what he calls me, because I'm
Yeah.
all the time talking about the Bubble Cluck, because like what we were talking about, one of the most effective calls you can run. But anyway, I started clucking at him, started cutting at him, started yelping hard. Wind picked up, and he told me, he said they're on their way here, and I was like, I'm sure they are. I
Yeah.
mean, they're 14 and a half miles away. He said, I'm telling you, they're on their way, because he's on there with the binos, and I'm like behind this plum thicket, like calling at him, on a pot call and box call, mouth call, everything else. And we went over there and we sat down on the edge of this plum thicket, and I ain't gonna lie, my eyes shut for, I say momentarily, maybe 2 minutes. I don't know. But when I opened them up, there was a turkey standing there, and then he gobbled. When you first wake up, your eyes are kind of glossy, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Is that a turkey or is that a?" Because it was midday, and Kansas gets hot,
Oh
and
yeah, it does.
and well, I looked at him, or he was kind of to my left. He's a lefty, and I kind of turned. I said, "Is that a turkey in front of me?" And by the time he turned around, the turkey gobbled, and he said, "Yeah." After it gobbled, I was like, "Well, obviously I can hear it,
Yeah.
I'm not deaf." So I start raising the gun up. He said, "What you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm gonna kill him right there." He said, "That's 70 plus yards." But it was in the wide open.
Yeah.
There was one little fence post, and he took a rangefinder out and he ranged it when we sat down. That bird was 73 yards, and I was about to shoot at him, but he looked like he was 40.
Yep. Yeah.
And long story short, it was two of them. End up, I killed the longest long beard. He killed the other one. I killed
Yeah.
the dominant. He killed the subordinate. Most amazing thing ever. And I was with the greatest turkey killer I've ever known, which
Yep.
made it even better. And I told him, I said, I will always carry a rangefinder from now on. And that's what
Yep.
taught me, because like you said, you get just a little bit of a depression, especially out there when it's wide open.
Yep.
And when we sat down, every time we'd sit down, he'd pull that thing out. And now I can say in the last 2, 3 years, it has saved me 3 or 4 turkeys, because I didn't shoot or I did shoot. Because there's
Or
been
yep.
times where they looked really far, but they was only like 52 yards, you
Yep.
know.
Yep. So you shoot tungsten?
This year I started. I killed my New York was the first turkey I killed with
With tungsten.
TSS 20 gauge. But before that, my wife got me for our wedding. So not to go deep into this, but I'd saved up a bunch of money for um a Benelli shotgun, right?
Yeah.
Well, I ended up meeting this blonde haired chick, and I was like, I think this could work. And then we started, going to church and talking about, the big dog upstairs. And I was like, you know what? And she ended up going with me to Missouri in the middle of nowhere and -18-degree temperatures. And she hunted with me. And I was like, I believe she's the one. I said,
That's
I
the
don't know
one.
any other girl who could do that. So we come back, I proposed to her. Okay.
Yeah.
So all that money I saved up for a shotgun, I took it, put it on a ring, bought her a ring. So long story short, we're sitting there at the rehearsal dinner. She brings out this long skinny box. Can I open it up? And it's a Benelli Super Black Eagle 3. It was the gun I'd been saving up for all this time, and she took her own money and bought it for me. So when
Wow.
everybody talks about
Keeper.
God, God works in
Yeah.
mysterious ways, man. I'm
In
telling you.
mysterious ways.
And buddy, I have flat killed him with that gun ever since
Yeah.
we got married. I've killed the piss out of them turkeys with that gun. And so but it's a 12 gauge. But this year I told her, I was like, I hunt South Florida, especially if I hunt out of state, like it's super hard walking. I took the 20 gauge. I bought a couple boxes of the 20 gauge. I ended up killing my first turkey in New York this past year with it. And dude, I'll tell you that little 20, I haven't killed a turkey with that 20 gauge in over 20 years, and I'm talking about it about cut his head off.
Yeah. They were wicked. The
They're
number,
wicked, man.
they're wicked. And they have no recoil. They're quiet. The whole nine.
Yeah, and I'm shooting a youth model. It's like that long.
Yeah.
It's like shooting a pistol. I shot that turkey with one arm. I really did. And he come in and like I couldn't get my other arm on it because I was like, if I move, I've already moved enough. So I just kind of held it up there and I just kind of held it like a long pistol. And I was like, that's close enough. And I shot, I went over and I seen um I hope this don't like get taken down, but like I seen like the blood spray and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I smoked him. I went up there and dude, his head looked like mashed potatoes. I was like, oh my God. And and I just held it with one arm and I was like, oh, I said, that's the one I'm carrying. But it's a 50-yard gun, man.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yep.
And
100%.
I don't man, I truly I don't like shooting them over like 35. I mean,
Yep.
I shot a bird this past year with lead, that same, Black Eagle 30 gun at 67 yards. The reason I know is because I ranged it.
Yeah.
And I killed that turkey. I shot. I didn't think I was gonna kill it. Them turkeys had made me mad. That's the only reason I shot. I shot, and he went to flop, and I was like, "Oh my God!" So I went running down there anyway. It ended up almost breaking my face because I tripped over this daggone rose bush. But anyway, I get down there, and I mean, but I killed him. I mean, he wasn't
Yeah.
like going anywhere, and I'm sitting there with him, and he's wings still beating, and finally, I pulled out my rangefinder and I scanned a tree, and it was 67 yards, and I was like, "Oh my
That's a
God,
poke.
that's a poke, son!
That's a poke. That's a poke.
That's a poke, dude." And I was like, dude, I was like, them. It was longbeards, longbeard
Yep.
SRs.
Yep. They're killers.
The the problem I've had with those shells is them not going off. I've had twice of them not going off.
I've heard that.
Um,
Yep.
I thought um, I thought it was like you see people posting about it and you go, that hasn't happened to me. Well,
Yep.
2022 opening morning in Virginia, it was snowing and I ended up calling a bird um, in the middle of a freaking snowstorm. I still to this day, I don't, but, but yeah, man. So that bird, opened the morning a couple years ago, end up calling. I mean, it was cold. I asked my wife. My wife always gets, she's first on the trigger, for opening day, and she was like, "It's cold, it's windy, uh, it's snowing, and this and that." And I was like, "Okay, well, I'm going. So if you want to go, you can go." So anyway, so go out there and end up. Uh, these turkeys are way off, but they start. Uh, Well, I can't remember how it all worked out, but I remember the snow was coming down. It was like kind of like, super white, out in front of me. And
Yeah.
I ended up seeing, I was like, man, that looks like a turkey's head, like around the other side of this rose bush. And then it turned. I was like, oh my God, that is a turkey's head. I was like, that dude ain't said nothing for like 3 hours. And and I'd been working my way up this ridge the whole time. But anyway, that bird ended up calling him around that rose bush. I got him at 30 yards, exactly 30 yards. Pulled the trigger and it went click. I went, and my first thought
Oh,
was, did I put one in the chamber? So, and I'm, shooting that automatic. So I clicked the button and I reach up there and I pull it back real, and I got right to the end of the shell and I was like, all right, we're gonna see how aware he is of the situation. When I pull it back, it goes flying out and I let it go and and he kind of was like, that's weird. That stump just ejected a shell, He's like starts, you know, kind of moving up through there. Well, I jump up, I run to that greenbrier bush and I raise up and he was like 50 yards and it was two or three, I could see two or three turkeys and I didn't I didn't want to cripple. I didn't want to kill one and cripple a couple. I said that
yeah.
just ain't for me. So I said, that's a
No.
good one. I tipped my hat to him and now I tipped my hat and said, hey, you got me. And then I took it and threw it on the ground because I was so mad. But I was ready to wrap that gun around a tree. I truly was. But come to
Oh,
find out,
100%.
I took that shell that I ejected, I found it, and I carried it home. And I was not nice the entire ride home. I mean, I didn't turn the radio on or nothing. I was like, I'm telling you right now. I got back, I threw it in a couple different shotguns I got, and it wouldn't go off. So I ended up
Mm,
calling Winchester and I said, hey, I said, you got some bad shells. Here's a lot number, this and that. And I put it on Facebook and different websites because I wanted people to know, hey, if you got the slot number, it might not be, good. You might want to swap out. But I've had that
yeah.
happen twice, man. Once
Oh,
once target shooting and once in the woods. And I love long beards. I do. And I'm not trying to
yeah.
discourage anybody from using them, but for me, I I've had to go click twice and I take it back. I've had it happen three times. Twice in the woods, uh, and once target shooting.
Man,
Yep.
that's as much time as you put into hunting. It
Yep.
sucks when it comes down to that. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I know
Well,
guys that kill a lot more turkeys than me, and they're like, man, I've never had to do that, and you're like, maybe I'm just that unlucky. I don't know, but it it happened.
yeah. Yeah. I've killed a fair bit with them long-beard XRs before I went to the TSS, but I like I said, I after that experience shooting that bird and through a little bit of thicket and him getting away, I was like, I think I'm gonna go to tungsten, but 12 gauge and a tungsten is like trying to lose your shoulder for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, if you could take a 20 gauge and do the same thing,
Yeah,
um, I mean, why not? Why not take the
yeah.
the the smaller gun?
Kind of want a 28 gauge, not gonna lie.
Oh, really? You've looked at them?
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm the only thing that's stopping me is the fact that when I bought that Frankie, I had it sent off and had it Cerakoted, and I did like the battle worn and everything to it.
Hmm.
The gun is super nice. It's just I don't want to spend another $800, and I'm only going to carry
Yeah.
one gun in the woods, so it's like maybe I'll buy it for my wife and then
I
use it.
like that. I like how you
And,
framed that up. Buy it for my wife. That's a good one. I didn't even remember that one.
she's a turkey hunter. I mean, she could use.
Oh, she may use it every few years. I mean, I need to get it for her.
Yeah, her 2 turkey hunts a year.
Yeah, yeah. It's a, it's a, it. it really opened my eyes up to it because like I said, I mean, you know how to. I mean, everybody's like TSS, 20 gauge, 410, this and that. Um, but for me, the reason I got it was for South Florida. I was like, man, I was like, I
Yep.
want, as bad as it sounds, I was like, I really want a gun that down there you're getting in the water, you're beating it to death. I was like, man, I really don't want a $2,000 shotgun down there. So
Yep.
took that gun with me, and it's a pump gun, 870 youth model pump gun. I was like,
All
you
reliable.
know, yeah, and I said, dude, I said if stuff gets jammed in it in the action, I can still manually I can rip it through there and make that shell go in there. Um
Yep.
but man, I tell you what, and you may have noticed this, but when you come back from Florida, does your shells are they all rusted?
Uh-uh. No, no, I haven't noticed that yet.
Oh, dude,
But
every time I go to South, dude, all of my shield like that I carry with me, they're all rusted all to pieces. And
really, holy
oh yeah.
smokes.
Yeah, it's probably because I'm out there, Forrest Gumping it,
In
falling down
the
in
water.
in all them
Yeah.
swamps and stuff. But and I thought like that turkey a couple years ago, I thought, oh, that shell may have been in South Florida, but all the shells I carry down there, I keep them in a box, and I've got labeled with duct tape, South Florida, so I know they're not. So, but
Yeah, don't be using those around.
yeah, I'm not
How
gonna.
many years have you
Yeah,
been?
so I've only been last couple of years, 2 years in a
Hmm,
row.
are you going back this year?
Don't think I'm gonna make it. We're gonna be moving during that time, so
Okay.
um, yeah, probably won't make it. I'll probably be on my phone a lot, looking at it, dreaming about it. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm probably gonna be. I'd say mainly in the home state here, probably helping other kids and other guys kill turkeys, but um, just because I'm just not gonna have the time. I never. I was telling my wife this when we decided to move and everything, and I told her I was like, I never in my life ever thought I would ever say I just don't have the time to go and hunt and this and that. I just never thought, but you know, God
Here
puts
it
a
is.
Y in our chromosome for us to make hard decisions. So I have to do it, even
Yep.
even with my business ramping up the way that I've been trying to ramp it up. It is what it is. So I hope that
No.
um, guys that are using them can, maybe carry the load for me. But
Yep. Make you live vicariously through it.
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
had a I had a fella.
Yeah.
I was in Mississippi a few years ago, and this guy called me. He said, "You're my hero." And I said, "Does your hero eat bologna sandwiches, soggy bologna sandwiches, and a cot at night?" He said, "I don't know, does he?" I said, "Well, this one does if I'm your hero." Because I've been sitting there. My cheat. If listen, if you get if hey, listen to me, and I'm gonna look right at you. If anyone is eating American slices, the ones that come in the little packs, that's not real cheese. It's just
Y-
plastic. They call it cheese.
y- Yep.
If you're eating that, your lifespan is decreased by 15 years. Okay, let me explain something to you. But
I'm in
but
trouble.
but oh, me too. But you can hunt a lot longer because guess what? It's plastic. You're caulking everything up. And he laughed. He's like, well, he said, if you kill one, I said, yeah. I said, I've killed one. I said, but I said, I'm down here getting whipped, man. I said, we got gale force winds, and it was tornadoes, it was flash flooding, it was flood warnings, tornado warnings. And I said, I don't know if I should climb up in a tree or go underground. I don't know which one I ought to do. 125-foot pines, they's over there swinging over the tree like this. And
Ooh.
I went down there on the big river down there. Uh, and I rolled down there and I looked at it and I went, well, it's across the road. I said, my only exit's out of here. So I said, this was up to God. We're gonna let the God handle this. I don't know what to do, you know. But yeah, I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
yeah.
Sweet. Well,
Wh-
you're gonna be staying around home, obviously. So Virginia, you're gonna go anywhere close or like West Virginia or anything, or
I might make a run up north. Um, there's a couple states up there that's kind of had my eye for a couple years. I might do like kind of a weekend trip up there. I'm not a big weekend guy. I don't like weekends, but you got to work with what you got, right? So, what about you,
absolutely.
man? Well, what's your plans this spring?
We're gonna hunt the Northwest, start in Washington, hopefully Idaho and Oregon, and then we're gonna go to the Northeast and hunt Massachusetts, Vermont, Maine, and maybe one other if we can. Somewhere there's like a bunch of them that connect right there. New Hampshire or whatever. We're gonna try to hunt them, and then I'm gonna try to hunt Indiana and West Virginia.
Oh, Indiana. I've been wanting to get in there for a while. Um, that's a one bird state there, right?
One bird, yep, and it's like 190 bucks or something for the tag, 180
It's
bucks. But
expensive. Yeah.
I have a buddy down there. He's gonna go out west with me. He's a pretty big turkey hunter, and
There you go.
he said he's gonna go listen prior to the season and have kind of an ideal for when I come down there, which is absolutely ideal because
Oh yeah.
I went down there a few years ago and I only had one day to hunt and I heard one bird gobble and couldn't do nothing with him. He was on the move. He had a pile of hens with him, and that was the only time I hunted Indiana. So, or no, we stopped in and we hunted northern Indiana 2 years ago on a private farm that my buddy he could hunt, I couldn't. So I just called for him, and
Right.
we killed a bird the first day we were there. So,
Do
but
you
ideally,
let me ask you this, man. I don't mean to cut you off there.
oh, you're good.
Do you ever think I always feel like every diehard turkey hunter thinks this way. And tell me if I'm crazy, but do you ever look like when you talk about like I couldn't do anything with that turkey or whatever and we moved on, do you ever think about what that turkey's doing like after you've left?
No, not not really. By the time I leave, I'm so flustered that that turkey whooped me. The only thing I want to do is find where he's roosted that night and try to kill him in the morning.
Dude,
No, I
I I've I've sat there and like we've fooled with a turkey for, you know, for half a day or whatever, and then all of a sudden he ghosts us or whatever, you know, like an ex-wife, and then you start going
yeah.
and you start looking, you know, for other birds and everything, and we'll be sitting there and like I'll look over at my buddy, like this is like 2 days later, and I'll go, "What you?" And we'll name him. I say, what you think old Rex is doing right now? And he's like, I ain't even thought nothing about him. I'm like, well, I ain't stopped thinking about him since he whipped us. I mean, that burns me up thinking about him whipping us, you know?
Oh yeah. Yeah. No. When we were out in the Black Hills, I won't say what state there was, but when we were in Black Hills a couple of years ago, there was a gun range out there, and forgot what we called him. But we talked about that turkey the entire trip because he's the one that came in on us when my buddy had his bow. And what did we call him? I can't remember, but we talked about that bird the entire trip.
Yep.
And because we got close to him like two or three different times that day. And then these people were out shooting their guns at this firearm or this range. And I can't remember what we called him, but that's funny because we would sit there while we were hunting other places and we're like, man, we almost killed blank, or I can't believe that
Yeah.
bird's made it, blah blah blah, like stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, because
But
they get under your skin. We hunted a place, this was several years ago, out of state, and there was a bird. We went listening, and this was like the day before season come in. We drove down and everything. We found these turkeys, and dude, it was loaded. I was like, oh my God, we done found them, dude. At night
yeah,
we were there high fiving, we're like, oh man, we done found them, son, and
we killing them in the morning.
oh, we're gonna slaughter them, and so I get in there the next morning, and we split up, me and this other guy, and get in there, and I get on this little finger ridge with this turkey, and I was like, he's got to be right there. He hadn't said nothing all morning. I was like, but he's got to be right there. Well,
Yeah,
you know, end up he was exactly where he should have been. Drew it up, and well, there was some user error with this new shotgun, and the I had knocked the safety off on this gun, but when he got up there, I had forgot that the safety was off. So I kept trying to knock the safety off. I was like, why is it not going off? Well, safety's been off for like 10 minutes and I didn't. So anyway, Turkey gets by me, and when I tip my hat to him, I said, you got me this time, old buddy. Well, we named him Ghost.
yeah.
I said, oh, Ghost. I said, I hunted that turkey for 2 years. Never once heard him, never seen him again. I don't know if he died of old age. He got poached. I don't know if he drowned in a river. I don't know what happened to him. But I know that turkey in my head, when I get to heaven, I'm going to explain to God, if you just give me one more round with him, I just want one more, I just want one more chance with that old boy just to show it,
Yeah,
and it's just, them
living rent
turkeys,
free.
yeah, man, they live in my head, man. I got turkeys when I was growing up, when I was, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, 13, 14 years old, that span of my life, there's a whole population of turkeys that are now on their like great, 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 great grandchild that have whipped me. And I think to myself, by God, I tell you what, if they dropped me in there now, son, of course, I don't have permission to hunt the place now, but if I was in there now,
Yeah,
I'd make sure that they never had another generation after them ever again. Yeah, I do. I think about them, man. I think about it all
shoot
the
'em.
time. I mean, this is 20 years later. I'm still thinking about them. But
Oh my, that's when you know you're addicted.
it is, man. I used to like draw like setups. This is gonna sound, I may cut this
Yeah,
out. This is gonna sound really corny, but I used to draw setups like a tree, like a dude sitting against a tree, decoys. And I used to draw it. Well, I was a kid. I used to draw all that stuff.
yeah,
And and if I would have had a camera back then, I could have videotaped like their sounds. Ah, yeah, I'd have had thousands of sound files, dude. But I've got them mentally in
oh
my
yeah.
head. I've told you like there's hens in my head that like I try to replicate my sounds after, but calls after, but like I don't know, man. It's a perpetual cycle that never ends. It never ends, and
Just running.
I'm
Do.
it is, man. We were doing this, I don't know if I can say what, there was a certain task we had to do at work. It was a bunch of us in there, and they all knew me, and we're in there, and they were like, "You seem checked out." I was like, "No, I'm not checked out." I was like, "I'm here, but they was like, your mind's in a different place." I said, "Yeah, it's against the tree somewhere, not here."
Not
It's like,
here.
well, you got to be present for work. I said, I want to be present for life. I was like, I feel alive out there. I was like, I don't, and they all know, they know me, they're just like,
Yeah,
they're like, oh, they're like, well, we got to do this and do that. I'm like, oh, that's good, but, I was like, when you feel one rattle the cloth off of your body and you feel your rib cage vibrate, so there, I mean,
You can't
there ain't
beat it.
nothing like that.
You can't beat that with a stick. Uh-uh.
No.
That yep. When that drumming, oof,
Well, let me ask you, man,
I love hearing them drum.
are you a big fisherman?
Yeah, when you were talking earlier, we happen to have some of the best bass fishing around. Um, and we have the Great Lakes, so we do a lot of smallmouth fishing. I fish bass tournaments during the summer. Um, so when you said that earlier, I was like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
yep. So he bass fishes, awesome, heck yeah,
So what about them old boys that was stuffing weights in them fish?
yeah, that's dirty. That's I wanted to win tournaments myself, but I ain't doing that.
That was a bad deal,
They got in
man.
trouble.
They did. They got in a
Yeah,
lot of
they're
trouble.
a lot of trouble, and that's all for cheating. I mean, yeah, that was nuts to hear about that, and the fact that his buddy just rolled out on him. He just took
Oh,
off.
did he
I'm just
snitch
gonna go
on
to the
him?
truck. No, he just headed to the truck. He was trying to get out of Dodge because he knew them boys were about ready to start whooping on him.
I didn't know that, so his buddy just left on him?
His buddies started walking away, and that other dude was left there with all them dudes. And the tournament
No,
director said,
that's the guy we see
uh,
in the video just standing there, but his buddy left on him.
his buddy walked right away. Left him out for absolute beating.
Dude,
Oh,
that's a rough place to be, son. That's a rough place to be.
that's
Hey, but you know what? You play with fire, you get burned, son.
yeah. Oh yeah, you're around a bunch of hillbillies that just lost the tournament for cheating. Oh boy. Yeah, you in
Well,
trouble.
you heard as soon as they cut that fish open, they said that they like those dudes had anticipated that for a long time. From what everything I've read, they said that they thought that those guys had been cheating for a long time. But now
Yep.
I've been in bass tournaments down here. Excuse me. And and guys will pull up there and they'll have, for us, like this lake right here around us, man, if you catch a 12, 14 pound sack, you take it home the money, Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but and people start grumbling. They're like, them fish, the color don't look right on. And I'm like, dude, I mean, we're talking about 14 pounds. I'm like, I mean,
Yeah.
we're gonna win. That they won $57. Okay, let's not get twisted here. Okay, and I had
Yeah.
a
Ain't
guy.
nobody cheating for 50 bucks.
I had a this is no joke. I was fishing one night. This is no joke. This was like an hour after dark. All right. I went from, I was throwing big crank. This is like middle of summer. I'm throwing big crankbacks, you know. My arm felt like I just threw like 9 innings, right? Okay. So we zip up the lake, Now we're flipping. I say we, it's me. I'm by myself, me and the dog, okay, my
By
lab. All right.
myself.
Yeah, I'm by myself. I'm up there and I'm flipping, soft plastics. I'm not gonna say what they are, but um, I get a call. Buddy of mine calls me. He's like, "Hey," he said, he said, I heard they're cheating down there on such and such lake." And I said, "So what if they are?" He said, "Well, I mean, you down there fishing a tournament, aren't you?" I said, "I'm in a tournament right now." He said, "Well," he said, "I heard they're over there." I said, "Well, where are they cheating at?" I said, "I need to go there." I said, "Send me the coordinates. I need a pin." He started laughing. And I told him, I said, if they can catch 12 pounds, 12 to 14 pounds on this lake, I said, they deserve to win. I said, I don't care who they
They
are.
deserve it.
I said, if they
Yeah.
catch them with a cast net, Conga, give it to them, you know. But but we got up there and I ended up talking to the guys, won the tournament, and it was a super slow night, man. They won the tournament with 3 fish, okay, and And I said,
Oof.
"Would you catch them on a cast net?" And everybody just started dying laughing. And they was like, "No," I said, "but if we could have, we probably would have." And everybody's just joking around.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm sure cheating goes on. I'm sure it goes on at every level of every competition anywhere in the world. But
Yep.
you gotta look at, okay, did I lose $20 to enter in this tournament, or did I lose $20,000?
Yeah.
I mean,
They're going to be a lot more mad when
you're gonna be a
$20,000
lot.
goes away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yep.
So I just, for me, and I quit fishing tournaments not because I thought that I was getting cheated or anything. I wasn't good enough to catch them. Um,
Yeah.
every time, and this is a true story. My wife can testify to this. I took her. I went out there. I pre-fished Thursday because we do a lot of Friday night rodeos down here. So
Yep. So
I
do we.
fished. Okay, so I fished Thursday night. I went after work, went out there. I caught a 6.5 pound fish, caught a 5.5 pound fish, back to back. Talking flip,
What?
pulled them in, threw them in, weighed them. I was like, oh, went over there, put them in I was like, stay right here till tomorrow. Well, and I caught a pilot. I mean, I bet I caught keepers. I say I probably caught 18 pounds. I caught a pile of fish. Next
Yeah.
night, next night, went out there. I took my wife. I told her, I was like, "It's before we had kids." I said, "You gotta go with me." I said we're gonna smoke them tonight. I would have smoked them last night by myself. So she comes out there. We get to the tournament. I'm shaking hands. Right, I'm like, "Hey man, how you doing?" I'm thinking to myself, "We about to kill them."
We're about to whoop
We pull
them.
up. We pull up to the first spot and throw out there. Nothing. What? After about 20 casts, you go, I don't know if they're here or not. So
uh,
we caught a limit. Um, and I looked at my wife. I said, "Are you tired?" It was about 1:30 in the morning. She said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, let's just go to the house." She said, "Okay." And so there was no way we was winning that tournament. There was no way. And we had, 4.5 pounds, with with five
what?
fish. I was like, let's just go to the house. She was like, okay. So I went over and put the boat on the trailer. And guy come in there and he's like, hey, he's like, you leaving? I said, buddy, when you got close to a fish. And he said, really? He said, yeah. So they ended up winning with like 11 pounds, whatever it was. But I mean, it's just, I swear to you, but I've been out there when they've been tournament fishing, when it's
Yeah.
just me out there. I've been tournament fishing. And I'll smoke them, dude. I mean, I'll be out there absolutely killing them.
Yeah.
And I come by like every so often, and the little dock there, and I'll pull up there, and there's a guy weighing in. I'll go. I'll call him out by his name. I'm like, hey, I'm like, what's the score? He's like, well, so and so texted me, said they got this and this, and I'm like, well, I've got 14 pounds. He's like, well, you might as well stay here and see what you got. But I'm not in the tournament every time, so I quit fishing tournaments. I was like, it just ain't meant for me to win. I was like,
Bad
I,
luck.
yeah,
Did you say 1:30 in the morning?
yeah,
You guys fish tournaments at 1:30 in the morning?
yeah. We fish. Our tournaments most time will run from like 7 to like 3 a.m.
What?
Yeah, we fish all night tournaments.
Bass fishing?
Hmm.
Whoa. I've never heard of that. I've
Oh,
never.
really?
No, we're like 5 to 9,
5 in the
5:30.
morning?
No, 5 at night till 9 at night.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah, dude. In the South, um, yeah, uh night fishing is like a big thing for bass.
Holy smokes, I didn't know.
Oh yeah, man, dude, and I've caught some big ones, dude. From at like 11:30 to 2 p.m. or 2 a.m. Slot. Oh, I've caught a pile of them like that.
I've never heard I'm gonna tell my dad about that, and I bet he's gonna laugh so hard at that. That is
Really?
that is so different. I'm
It is, man. And that's why like I've always wanted to come up here and like do musky fishing, do the smallmouth deal. Cause like I know it's a totally different because y'all are so clear water, which we're where I live at in the mountains, we're pretty clear water here.
Yep.
Um, but up there where you're at, I know it's like super clear water.
Yeah, out on, Lake St. Clair, you can see the
Oh,
bottom.
oh
That
yeah, dude. There's been
that's my that's
a bunch of tournaments up there at St. Clair.
you have?
No, I've watched a bunch of tournaments up
Oh,
there.
yeah, no, them we go up there and catch a lot of smallmouth. That's a good time. That is absolutely a good time up there.
Yeah, man. I used to watch those tournaments. They go up there with those like deep V boats,
Yep,
and
yep.
a lot of those guys are musky fishing, but like they do like a lot of that like finesse smallmouth fishing too. And I'm just like, God, dude, I gotta get
Yes.
up there and do that, man.
Yeah, one of these times, yeah, we drop shot them, throw tubes.
Drop shot, yeah.
Um, I'm a big Cinco guy.
Oh yeah.
I like throwing
So
Cincos under docks.
the running joke in the South, like if you go on TikTok, like you look at any kind of bass fishing, is like you're sitting there and you're like, what am I gonna throw? And like the Cinco will like start coming up out of the tackle box, and it's like, that like perfect singing little kid, and that like meme or whatever. And you're
Yeah.
like, oh, that's what I need to use. Hey, Gary Yamamoto, man, he was on the money with that one.
Right? On the money. Green pumpkin.
And yeah, green pumpkins, but yeah, man, our lakes here are so pressured because of so. I mean, we run tournaments from Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights. I mean,
Yep.
you're talking 4 nights a week in the summer. You're talking about from April till October. They just get hammered 4 nights a week, and so um if you can catch like everyone talks about, oh, catch, big fish at night, throw big baits, big spinner baits, 1 ounce spinner baits, big, big, magnum worms and this and that. That don't work here. I
Yep.
mean, you got to throw like some trick worms. You got to throw like super small stuff because them bass and them guys they pull up, with $20,000 worth of electronics, and they're like, "There's fish right there, but I can't catch them." And it's like, well, they've seen every lure this side of the Mississippi. I mean, what do you think he's gonna bite? I mean, I wouldn't bite nothing either.
No. I'd be anorexic.
But we have deep lakes here. Um,
Okay. Yep.
yeah, I mean, we're talking about mountain reservoirs, highland reservoirs, super deep. You get 30 foot off the bank, you 50 foot off the bottom. So
Phew. Yeah, that's crazy
yeah,
to me.
yeah, it is. But well, man, it looks like we're at 3 minutes to go. If you want to call it, we can. If you want to keep going, we'll keep going.
Well, probably now I'll probably end up calling her for the night, but I've definitely enjoyed talking to you, and let's do it again. Absolutely.
Absolutely, man.